Good morning to you. Very good morning. You're watching Newsroom. That is our President, Kendall Mahamati, and myself, Evan Jansen. Hope you've had a very good weekend. It's Monday morning, time for us to, well, get ourselves underway. Now, Elvis has had a very busy sporting weekend, haven't you, Elvis?
Very busy sporting weekend, but, you know, the box only played for 20 minutes, so it wasn't very long.
It wasn't very long. It was horrible. Some analysts called it looked like a B-division rugby match taking place at international level. What a shocker for South Africa it was. But, of course, today, well, we'll shift our question to asking you, well, it's an important day today for South Africa. Exactly 2 years ago, there was a church collapse in Nigeria that saw 116 people killed, 85 of them South Africa. We ask you the question, has TB Joshua counted for the deaths of the 116 people? He was supposed to come to South Africa, actually. He's never come. What do you think? Send us your views about TB Joshua as we remember those that fell in what many called an unnecessary tragedy in Nigeria on the 12th of September, 2 years ago now. There's a lot of news on this Monday morning. It's been a busy weekend as you know it. Elvis is going to put us up to date.
Three more illegal miners have surfaced at a disused mine in Langlaagte, south of Johannesburg. Today marks the 39th anniversary of the death of Steve Bantu Biko, the anti-apartheid activist and founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. And the death toll from an earthquake in Tanzania has risen to 16. Those are some of your highlights here on the program for today. But before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Mahamati what's happening on the sports front. It was very busy, as Eben indicated.
It was very busy. And like I've said before, you know when the sports makes it into the news, you know it's been a bad day at the office. When the news anchors, the first thing they do is talk about sports, you know it's been a very bad day.
Personally, it's been horrible. Man United lost and then a box got pumped. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? We'll be chatting about all of that a little later today. This is what else is coming up in the sports today.
The final of the men's 100 metres.
At the Paralympics, Team South Africa is living up to expectations as Charles du Toit wins the T37 100 metres, taking South Africa's medal tally to 5 after just 4 days.
Du Toit's going to take it! 11:45! So fast! Mohammed looked to be in second place. I think Van der Merwe up in third. Brilliant!
Chipa United hold Pitso Musimane's Mamelodi Sundowns to a goalless draw in their MTN 8 first leg semi-final.
That's how it happens. Stan Wawrinka wins his third Grand Slam.
And Stan Wawrinka beats world number 1 and defending champion Novak Djokovic in a thrilling 4 sets to become the 2016 men's US Open champion. All this and more we've got for you in the sports bulletin about 10:40 or so. But for now, it's back to Elvis, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this morning. 3 illegal miners trapped at a disused mine shaft in Langlaagte, south of Johannesburg, have resurfaced unharmed from underground. 4 illegal miners were rescued from underground yesterday, and this now brings the number of illegal miners who've since emerged from underground to 7. Of the 4, 2 have been hospitalized and the other 2 have been arrested. A group of illegal miners went underground last week in search of gold, but they started experiencing breathing problems after they were overcome by carbon monoxide. Operations were suspended because of an underground fire and deadly gases, which prevented mine rescue service personnel from reaching the trapped miners. Now, for the latest on the crisis there, we cross to Griselda Lewis, who is standing by in Langlaagte to tell us more. Griselda, very good morning to you. Can you briefly tell us the unfolding drama about these Zama-Zamas, as they are called there?
Well, a very good morning to you, Elvis. What we can tell you at this point is that desperate families are still waiting in anticipation for this rescue operation to resume. Of course, you'll remember that yesterday it was suspended due to smoke that was detected underground. And they're saying they're hoping that this rescue mission will be restarted here again this morning. Of course, you'd know that we're expecting the Mineral Resources Minister, Mosebenzi Zwane, to make his way here a bit later on this morning. And certainly we'll get a sense of what the plan is moving forward. We understand that he will be in a meeting with the City of Johannesburg's emergency services, and a way forward will be charted as to whether this operation will resume a bit later on this morning or this afternoon or even tomorrow. But these families are quite desperate at the moment and are saying that they are pleading with police to go down this disused mine themselves to go and find their loved ones. Quite startling what we saw this morning as well, Elvis, when 3 of those illegal miners surfaced from underground and really painted a picture of a dangerous situation, saying that the smoke was choking them underground and that they'd been there since Thursday and Friday as well. So while there's no official numbers at this stage about exactly how many other illegal miners remain underground, the news that we're getting from those illegal miners who surfaced are saying that 5 remain underground at this stage. Certainly the figures that we're getting from emergency services and police is quite different from what we're getting firsthand from those that have surfaced. Let's chat to some of those desperate families who wait for news of their loved ones at this point. The gentleman standing in front of me here says his brother has been underground since Thursday. Tata usamile lana namhlanje usalinde nje ukuthi kuzokwenzakalani malungana nale rescue mission. Niziva kanjani oko umile apha from ekseni?
Thina sisifuna ukuthi sizingenele sisebenzele ngoba laba abantu abakhona ukusebenza njalo abakwazi lapha labantu abakhona yabona thina silolwazi ukuthi bangakuphi kwendawo. Yeah, that's why thina besifuna uzingenela thina sesithathela abantu bethu ngoba lento ayiqali la last year kwenzakala sazingenela sasikhuphela abantu laba bayihluleka yabona lamanje mbona ukuthi bona basinika chance thina sizingenele thina masingena kuzoba right sisikhuphele abantu laba ngoba sikhoma abantu abangisebele isikhathi eside bephakathi la.
Nisenawo ithemba lokuthi mhlambe bazawuphuma basaphefumula ngoba kuthiwa ke ngoku they've detected ismoke esikhoyo ngaphansi komhlaba?
No, ithemba asingeke sibe lalo ngoba omunye ongikona vele lo umfowethu omunye washona vele. I think usele ule viki lonke eshonile phansi yabona. That's why sifuna isincosi ingene thina siyesikhuphela yena yabona.
Kodwa nizawungena kanjani futhi kuthiwa isimo asivumi ngaphansi kwangoku nabanye abakwazi ukuphefumula kwaba besike sathetha nabo bebethe ukuthi isimo simaxongo ngaphansi komhlaba?
No, isimo asivumi kibo ngoba bona bakwazi ukuthi kuhanjwa njani. Thina siyakwazi ukuthi thina masikhamba kanjani. Thina basinika chance ingene isimo phansi esiright. Yeah, bona bangena bathola isigubhu. So umuntu uthola isigubhu angekho ungena ngoba kule ngoqo ezincane. Thina siyakhona ungena. Abasinika chance thina sizingenele. Siyaphuma laba abantu ngoba lokuqala bangena last year bayihluleka. Thina sangena sabakhupha abantu abayi-25 emathole. Bona sisebehlulekile. So thina besinika chance sizingenele. Yeah.
Well, certainly that seems to be one of the issues, Elvis. I think that's going to be raised with the Mineral Resources Minister, Mosebenzi Zwane, when he arrives here a little bit later on this morning. These relatives of those who remain underground say they want to go inside the disused mine themselves, to go and remove their families and their friends from underground. They're saying that as time goes on, as the hours continue to pass by, they're concerned that the situation there would be extremely dangerous. They're saying they know that they have the know-how on how to navigate underground. So that's certainly one of the pleas that they will put to the minister. They're saying they want to go underground irrespective of the situation that has been painted as extremely dangerous and the smoke that has been detected underground. underground. Let's speak to somebody else as well who's quite concerned and also says he wants to go underground to remove their friends and their families who are still trapped underground. Butwam nina kudala nimile apha nisithi nifuna ukuya pha ezantsi kodwa isimo engathi asivumi butwam niyaxeka futhi ukuthi lo operation rescue operation yona isimile ngoku.
Hayi sisikahle kahle isimo asivumi kulaba abangajwayele ukusebenza la. Ngokomthetho wakhona nje mabe ngabadedela kumanje. Mhlambe ngathi kushonelanga bengabe phumela abantu abaningi kakhulu ngoba kunabantu kumanje mhlambe abangathola usizo abasaphila. Kumanje bakulokumiwe la kulokumiwe nje. Kumanje bayalimala abanye ngani bebezosinda. Abanye right bashonile kodwa nje kumanje nje mabe ngabadedela nje isicelo sethu ukuthi nje sicela ukungena phansi sikwazi ukukhipha imindeni ngoba lapha abakhona bayaziwa. Hayi ukuthi mhlambe kusayofuniswa cha njengoba silindile nje silindele ukubabona bephumile futhi sinethemba ukuthi bazophuma bonke labantu abalaphansi babekhishwa abantu abajwayele khona la abayazi indlela zakhona ngebe kwazi ukuzazi and ezinye zincane angebe khona ukungena kuzo ngebe khona futhi nokuphuma nomuntu ke noma bengamthola ngebe khona ukuphuma naye manje labantu mabe ngadedela nje ukuthi sikwazi ukukhipha labantu phela nje sicela sisifuna ileso kwamanje nje basimla kwamanje nje silinde besidedela nje singene sikwazi ukukhipha abantu finish nje ndlala.
All right. Essentially what the gentleman is saying is that they want the police and the rescue operation or the emergency services for Johannesburg to give them way so that they can go underground to go and fetch their relatives, their loved ones. They're saying as time goes on, you might find a situation where those who are still stuck there, the situation might become quite dire. They're fearing for the lives of their loved ones as time goes by. We're not sure at this stage if this rescue operation will get underway. Certainly that will become clearer a little bit later on this morning. And I think there seems to be some activity on the part towards my right here where some of these illegal miners had surfaced a bit earlier on. We're seeing quite a lot of the media moving towards that direction there. I think many waiting in anticipation for any movement, I guess for hopes of the scenes that we saw a bit earlier on where those illegal miners have surfaced. But I also think the concern at this stage, Elvis, is that many of those who are underground fear that if they come out from underground, they will then be arrested as well. Let's chat to one of the gentlemen as well who's waiting, I think, for his brother to come from underground. Butwam, wena usanethemba lokuthi umfowenu uzawuphuma ngaphansi komhlaba njengoba bese kuchiwo ngokuba basamile ngokuya ngaphansi komhlaba boyabalanda.
Indaba ekhona nje themba senalo ukuthi uzophuma but ayikhona ngokusizwa kwabantu be-mine rescue. We can't do that thing singabantu thina because we used to do that thing. Last year we did that thing in Roadport here. You
were saying you rescued 34 people.
2014 we rescued 34 people in Roadport. Yeah.
So you want to go underground now and go and fetch your loved ones?
I can't even go there because I can't even go there. But my brothers, the thing that we're asking for those people, we see that they failed to go to maybe if they can give us their equipment, that equipment we can take lama oxygen abo asingeke siwaqoke singena lana siyawazi ukuthi siwaqoke lase sibheke ismoke ukuthi sisiza abantu bethu. That's one thing that I can say.
Right, thank you very much there, sir, for your time. The desperation, certainly, from these concerned relatives of those who remain trapped underground say that they're going to try and negotiate, with the different stakeholders to see at this point if they cannot go underground. We see some of these trucks that are being brought here at this stage, perhaps to come and assist with the operation, which we're not sure at this stage, Elvis, whether it will resume or not. But the greater concern is, as the hours go by, as the hours continue ticking away, the hopes of finding those who remain trapped underground, finding them alive, is of great concern at this point. But we'll certainly bring you more from here. We're expecting, of course, the Minister of Mineral Resources, Mosebenzi Zwane, to come here this morning, and I'm sure we'll get greater clarity on what happens from this stage moving forward. But
right.
these
Griselda,
families remain here quite desperate
Thank you.
and in anticipation about what happens next.
Thank you so much, Griselda Lewis. You'll keep us updated as the drama unfolds there in Langlaagte, so you have to stay tuned. She'll bring us more when the minister arrives a little bit later. Now, today marks the 39th anniversary of the death of Steve Bantu Biko, the anti-apartheid activist and founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. Biko died in police custody on the 12th of September 1977 in Pretoria. Through his writings and activism, he attempted to empower black people. He was famous for his slogan, "Black is beautiful." Every year, UNISA organizes a lecture in honor of his memory, and the most recent high-profile speaker to deliver the lecture was the American activist, Professor Angela Davis, over the weekend. Now, we believe the death toll in Tanzania has risen to 16. President Jacob Zuma, meanwhile, has sent condolences to Tanzania after an earthquake struck the northwest of the country. President Zuma has extended condolences to President John Magufuli. Authorities in the town of Bukoba, which was close to the epicenter of the earthquake that struck northwestern Tanzania, says the situation is under control. The death toll following a magnitude 5.7 earthquake has reached 16. Authorities say 203 others are still hospitalized with injuries. There's been significant damage to buildings in Bukoba, a city of more than 70,000 people close to the epicenter. Now, alleged rumors of looming fees hikes send the University of KwaZulu-Natal students onto the streets. The violent protests saw some students being arrested, building torch and suspension of academic activities, among other things.
This is what the Zulu King is calling for an end to. Damage estimated at millions of rand allegedly by students. King Goodwill Zwelithini wants more dialogue to put an end to such violent protests. He's called for students to engage in peaceful demonstrations.
Property belongs to them. It's for your grandchildren to come, as it has been left for you by the previous students that there were before, who actually today are professors of those institutions, who have never used a stick of matches. So I plead to our children in our high institutions to look after their own properties.
Meanwhile, university management says no decision has been made regarding the fee increment for next year. They've also denied claims that they are ignoring students' grievances.
University management has throughout this process been open to negotiation and engagement with the student leadership in the form of the SRC. Students have chosen to engage only with counsel on some sensitive issues. However, our doors continue to remain open for discussions into the future.
A meeting between the University Council and students will take place on the 19th of September. Simpiwe Makanya, SABC News, Durban.
Now, focus this morning is on UKZN and what is happening currently there. Let's start off that conversation. It's over to Evan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elvis. Very good morning if you've just joined us. I can tell you that South Africa's universities have dropped. Yes, they've dropped in the world rankings over the last couple of days. The main reason behind it being, well, the violence following out of the Fees Must Fall campaign. But as tertiary students and tertiary institutions, rather, and students await an announcement on whether there will be a fee hike in 2017, the institutions continue to face the might of protesting students. Last week, protests at the University of KwaZulu-Natal turned violent and criminal as well. Fires were started on campus. Several cars and a law library and a cafe were burned to the ground, all in the name of Fees Must Fall. Now, joining us from our Durban studios this morning is Lieutenant Colonel Thulani Zwane. Very good morning to you, Colonel. Thank you for joining us here on Newsroom.
Good morning, Eben.
Colonel, just give us a quick update. What's the situation like in and around the campuses of the University of KwaZulu-Natal?
For now, it is quiet. We know that our police officers are still on the ground. They are monitoring the situation. They are in all those affected UKZN campuses, including Pietermaritzburg, Westville, as well as Howard College. But for now, it is quiet.
And just give us a quick confirmation and update on the number of arrests that have been made. And can you confirm whether more students have been arrested over the weekend?
No arrests made over the weekend, but there were a number of students that were arrested for the past week. We are talking about 15 students who were arrested at Howard College, as well as the 25 who were arrested at Westville College, and about 6 who were arrested in Pietermaritzburg. And all those students who were arrested, they already appeared in court, and some of them were released on bail in various courts in the province. But the case is still under investigation as well.
Now, Colonel, we're getting reports here in Johannesburg, and we're far away from the action, as it were, about intimidation now on the campuses. People are being told not to cooperate with the police. What do you say to those kinds of reports?
We appeal to the students that they must please calm down, and if they've got something that they need to, if they need some help as well, they need to consult with the police so that they can be helped. But they need to report those intimidation to the police as well if someone is intimidating them.
Now, Colonel, these incidences, they've been severely criticised. There have been calls for tough action to be taken against the perpetrators. Can you tell us today, will these perpetrators, if found guilty, they will face the full might of the law?
All we need to do is to take those who are breaking the law and take them to court, and the court will decide as to how much they're going to give them, how much sentence are they going to get. But from the police side, we only investigate the cases and take the suspects to court. Then the court will determine as to how much are they going to get the sentence.
Colonel, do you, as the police, do you feel any pressure that an example should be made at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in order to stop these kinds of violent and criminal protests to spread to other campuses around South Africa?
Firstly, I must warn the learners or students that they are breaking their future. Once you are arrested and charged and found guilty at court, you must know that there is a criminal record on your name. And in future, if you go and apply for work, that criminal record might appear as well, and it will affect your life. But the police will keep on patrolling those areas, monitoring the situation, even those universities that are not affected as yet, but we are keeping an eye on those universities as well.
And now, Colonel, since late last week into the weekend, there have been allegations, if one can call it, made against police on campus. Can you confirm if one of your officers is being charged with alleged rape there, and what kind of other complaints have you heard of?
This is a concern to us, and up to now there's no one who came forward and report a case of rape where they allege that a police officer raped the victim. We are still appealing to the victim that they must please come forward and open a case so that the matter can be investigated. And at this stage, we cannot investigate something where there is no one who came forward and report that particular incident. But up to now, there's no one who came forward and report the rape case to the police.
And what do you say to those within the student movement who on social media and other platforms have come out and accused the police of being aggressive and robust in their dealings with them on the campus? Have you got any reports on this?
We must also warn those people who are posting such incidents to the social media before they can confirm such incident. That, like this rape case, someone was posting such incident to the social media, and without verifying the facts, in fact, they must not do those things.
And going forward over the next week, Colonel, what's the plan to prevent this kind of thing from happening on the campus again?
As I've said earlier on, we are going to keep an eye in all those affected and those that are not affected as yet universities, that such incident that happened previously is not happening. And we are also warning and we are also appealing to the students that they must not involve themselves in any illegal activities. They must not break any law. They must look after their properties, because the property that they are damaging is their own property. It helps them as well. Remember at Howard College where they burnt down the library hall, the same library that they will need in future as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a kind of behavior that has left many people shocked around South Africa. Colonel, thank you for coming into our studios in Durban today to share what information that you have with us here on Newsroom. Thank you very much. That's Lieutenant Colonel Thulani Zwane coming to us live from Durban, where the University of KwaZulu-Natal have been rocked, and of course all academic activity on the campus have been suspended now, I understand, until September the 20th, which is next week. Of course, today we remember the fallen in the church collapse in Nigeria 2 years ago exactly, on September the 12th. And we ask you that question with regards to 85 South Africans. 116 people in total lost their lives in what many called an unnecessary tragedy. Of course, we ask you, 2 years after the church collapse, has TB Joshua accounted for the death of 116 people? Here on the Newsroom show, we've asked their representatives in South Africa many times, when is TB Joshua coming to South Africa, as he pointed out several times during the aftermath of this tragedy, that he will come to South Africa and talk to the families himself. That has never happened. How do you view that? And also, do you think that he has accounted or he's been cooperative in any way in the aftermath of this horrific tragedy that took place exactly 2 years ago today? Now, time for us to take a look at what's on social media at this very hour. You saw our top story. Trapped miners in Langlaagte. 6 illegal miners. Or, as we heard Crisaldo Lewis tell us, 5 illegal miners were still trapped underground. Now, a short while ago, 3 more miners resurfaced. The rescue operation has been stopped until further notice after a fire broke out underground yesterday. Some miners want to risk their lives now to go back in there to try and save their colleagues and family members. There are some hashtag comments circulating there on screen. This one from Vincent. He says, "These are foreign illegal nationals plundering our mines. So now we must risk the lives of our medics for illegal acts." Follow Crisaldo Lewis at Crisaldo Lewis for any updates. And Crisaldo will be back in about half an hour's time at the top of the show to bring you another update right there from Langlaagte, where that story is developing. You've heard Mineral Resources Minister Mosebenzi Zwane. He's expected to be there. Hopefully, Crisaldo will be able to get an update from the minister as to how this matter will proceed, and especially how the rescue operation will proceed over the next day or so. Then, hashtag Steve Biko. Yes, Steve Bantu Biko. On this day in 1977, the struggle icon passed away. We remember the life of Steve Bantu Biko, a leader who made a huge impact and contribution to the struggle in South Africa. Nelson Mandela attended the 20th anniversary of Steve Biko's death. Yes, black consciousness, that's what it's about. Now, in some news from the Rio Paralympics 2016, 14-year-old Ntando Mhlangu wins silver, and Hilton Langenhoven gets gold in the long jump. It's been a golden weekend for Team South Africa at the Paralympics. We are very proud of them. I can promise you many more medals to follow in the days and week to come. Moving further afield, here we go to Tanzania now. The Tanzania quake, magnitude 5.7 quake, struck the country yesterday. The death toll is now believed to be at 16, while around 250 people are confirmed injured, 203 of those in hospital. Then the Hajj, the pilgrimage, took over the weekend. Millions of people from all over the world gathered at Mount Arafat. Hajj is a message of equality, unity, peace and brotherhood. We'd, of course, like to wish all our Muslim viewers around the continent into the Middle East Eid Mubarak on Eid ul-Adha today. Finally, yesterday was the commemoration of the 9/11 tragedy in the US, where some remarkable images circulating social media. Let's just take a look at some of these pictures of 9/11. There you see, of course, that's the memorial where the Twin Towers used to stand. What a beautiful picture of the skyline as you see across Brooklyn Bridge. There's the lights coming out of the Memorial Center on the site where the Twin Towers stood. And these are the pictures of the fallen. Yes, around 3,000 people lost their lives in one of the great tragedies, they say, of modern times. Now, the magnitude of 5.7, the earthquake in Tanzania has killed 16 people now, with more than 250 injured in northwestern Tanzania. Let's take a look at some of your comments with regards to Dan Ashby, talks about reports that more than 2,000 buildings in Bukoba, Tanzania, have been damaged or destroyed by the earthquake. Wow, that is a shocking number. Then Smile Chergi says, our condolences and solidarity over the people of Tanzania following the deadly earthquake in the northwest of the country. We all share those thoughts today. Smile. Danish says, Eid Mubarak to all my Muslim brothers and sisters celebrating today. Let's pray to those who are injured by the earthquake in Bukoba in Tanzania. Yes, it is a day to remember the fallen, and some of the pictures coming out of Tanzania is a little bit concerning. If we look at, well, the quality of the building work will definitely be questioned after this earthquake. It wasn't the biggest earthquake we've seen in recent times, but it certainly caused amazing damage. And you see from the pictures, some of the buildings never looked like they were ever built to withstand an earthquake of any sort, never mind a big one that we saw in Tanzania. Now, a picture of the day. This one comes from @Daudu, and it's captured, earthquake measuring 5.7 hit Tanzania, more than 10 people dead. We can confirm it's 16 now, and 250 plus it's now injured. Also felt in Rwanda, Burundi and Uganda. And here you see more pictures of the aftermath and the damage caused by an earthquake that measured under 6 on the Richter scale. So questions will be asked about, well, the structural integrity of many of the buildings, as we've heard from one of our viewers who tweeted more than 2,000 buildings destroyed or damaged in this earthquake. Now, a comment of the day, this one from Angelo Bryanston. It deals with, well, the story that we've been dealing with so far, and we're going to continue with it towards the end of the first hour. Is being a student in South Africa an excuse to be a criminal these days? That's the question that Angelo Bryanston is asking of us and of you, I suppose. He's talking about fees must fall reloaded. That's, of course, following a violent week at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Let's now take a look at what's happening in the courts this morning. We'll start in Bloemfontein, where a civil rights organisation, AfriForum, and the trade union Solidarity will make an urgent application in the High Court in Bloemfontein against the implementation of the University of Free State's 2017 language policy. Now, in terms of the policy, Afrikaans will be phased out as a medium of instruction, and it's causing a lot of unhappiness, and that's why it's in the court. Now, in the Northwest, the son of former SABC board member and a colleague of all of us, Hope Zinde, Varona Zinde, is expected to appear in the Brits Magistrates Court there. Of course, he stands accused of his mother's murder. The subject underwent evaluation at the Vescopi Psychiatric Hospital in Pretoria. He is facing a charge of murder and the possession of drugs. Then, in Mafeking, the pre-trial appearance of former Chief Financial Officer and 2 suspects who defrauded the Northwest University eduloan of almost 17 million rands. Now, that will take place in the Northwest High Court. We'll keep you updated on all of these stories that are in the courts on this Monday morning. First, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to the student leaders at the University of KwaZulu-Natal about how can they not know what is happening on their campus after the break.
Now, this is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refiel Wemwilo.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutaung, and this is our talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alicia Jolly.
My name is Dumila Matez.
William Mulabati.
I'm Simpo. What time is it? It's question time.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News Channel.
Welcome back. Now, we were supposed to continue this discussion with the SRC leader that was supposed to be in our Durban studios, but he's running late, so we won't continue right now. But as soon as he gets into the studio, we'll chat to him and we'll continue the discussion in terms of what's happening at UKZN and the drama that's unfolding there. As you know, the campus has taken an early break. And currently it's very quiet, as we heard from the police a little bit earlier. But we'll keep up the discussion with the SRC President, Bandile Majola. He's the SRC President at the UKZN Howard College campus. And we'll be asking him some questions around their demands, which is now standing, by the way, just to remind you, at 73 demands. That's what they have on the table. But right now, there's a question that we posed to you today, a very important one, and that relates to what happened 2 years ago in Nigeria when a church collapsed there. And 2 years after the church collapse, has TB Joshua really accounted for the deaths of the 18 people? He said he was coming to Johannesburg, to South Africa, to speak to the people of the families of the deceased that died in that horrible crash, or the building collapsed rather, in Nigeria. So we'd like to find out from you. Let us know on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on the Facebook page. Now, 2 years ago, 116 people, including 85 South Africans, were killed when the guest building of the Synagogue Church of All Nations collapsed in Lagos in Nigeria. The Nigerian government instituted an inquiry, but no one has been found responsible as yet.
12 September 2014. A catastrophe that left many families devastated. 116 worshippers were killed when the Synagogue Church of All Nations guest house collapsed, and scores more were injured. Now, 2 years later, no one has been prosecuted despite an inquiry into the disaster. 26 of the injured South Africans were airlifted from Nigeria and treated at the Steve Biko Academic Hospital in Pretoria. Families of the 85 deceased had to wait 2 months for DNA testing to be concluded before they could be buried. The church maintains it was not responsible. It says CCTV footage of the collapsed building points to an implosion because of an infrasonic sound weapon coming from a plane. Church leader, Prophet TB Joshua, is yet to appear before an inquiry. According to the Church's Council, the Board of Trustees is a legal entity which could be represented by anybody and not necessarily the church founder.
Well, the question we posed to you, 2 years after that disaster, did TB Joshua account for the deaths of 85 people and 116 in total that died and perished in Nigeria? Now, we'll take a look at some of your comments in a short while. You can let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on our Facebook page. And if you like us there, you become part and parcel of the informed here on the Newsroom. Now, The U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton has been diagnosed with pneumonia. In a statement released after she fell ill during a public ceremony to mark the 9/11 memorial yesterday, her doctor said Clinton had been advised to rest. We'll carry some of those stories for you a little bit later, and you have to stay tuned here on the Newsroom. But right now, it's over to Eben.
Yeah, Elvis, the show always goes on, and we're carrying on. Of course, we're still waiting for the SLC president from the University of KwaZulu-Natal to come and join us to tell us about the 73 demands that they have. What do you think about 73 demands anyhow? Now, over the past week, all eyes have been on the African continent, as there have been a number of elections and even a sense of political change across the continent. Although controversial wins were once again a trend, Zambia is set to hold its presidential inauguration, while Gabon's opposition still fights for equality following the results of their election. How effective are official policies and agendas in the political sphere of a nation, and when is it the right time for world bodies to get involved? Now, joining us in studio is the Executive Secretary of the African Forum, Professor John Tesha. Prof, very good morning.
Good morning.
Prof, I want to start in Gabon today because there we've still got a process. We've got international bodies wanting to intervene or wanting a recount at least. What do you think should happen next in Gabon?
It's very unfortunate. Both candidates should exercise maximum restraint. I think the port of reference is the court, and they let the court decide. Unfortunately, I'm told the Minister of Justice has also resigned, but that doesn't mean that the court don't exist. So anybody who has grievances in this, and we know that historically over the years, that the elections have always been contested, but the results, this final decision must be with the court.
The world body's intervention, African Union, even the UN, and we understand France, of course, have a lot of interest in Gabon as well. Do you think that they've been a little bit tardy with their responses to this crisis?
I don't think so. What my thinking is that, well, the AU has made a statement. The observer groups, both European Union and others, have made statements. I think the matter lies squarely between the two parties, and I think they can resolve it if they decide to do so. As I said earlier, the way forward is for the court decision, and the court may rule on recount or not recount.
Now, elsewhere, of course, an inauguration is set for this week in Zambia. We've seen a challenge to the inauguration of Edgar Lungu looming. What are your thoughts on what is happening in Zambia?
I think they made progress. I think Edgar Lungu will be sworn in, is it today or tomorrow? You always get some skirmishes with elections in Africa. I think the overall feeling is that elections are panaceas for democracy and development. They're not necessarily. We have seen a lot of conflicts emerging out of elections, and I think it's something maybe Africa should look at more closely.
There's just been some criticism of the courts in some instances. Do you think the courts are independent enough when it comes to dealing with these kinds of crises in the countries that we've seen now?
I think so. I mean, one interesting aspect is, you remember in Uganda, you had an opposition leader who was put on detention and applied for bail, Dr. Bisige. And the court ruled that he was entitled to bail. And he got bail and he got out. And that really shows that courts are quite independent, but there's more to be done.
Cape Verde's opposition leader, Janira Hopfa Almada, submitted in her resignation a day after a landslide victory by the opposition, the Movement for Democracy in that country. That's really the kind of example one would see going forward, and I'm sure that as the Executive Secretary of the African Forum, this is the kind of behaviour that you'd want to laud and that you'd want to see more of.
We are quite pleased with the decision of the former leader in Cape Verde. And I must emphasize that we have already 2 members of the forum from Cape Verde, and Cape Verde is showing example on the continent.
This, how do we deepen this kind of respect for democracy around the continent?
That's a very good question. I think it's for all of all of African countries under the AU to respect the principles of elections, to accept elections results. We have a Charter on Democracy and Elections in Africa. I think that is the tool that we should work with. That's the tool that we should popularize. It was adopted by all members, 54 countries. And I think we should make use of this tool, the Charter on Democracy and Elections in Africa.
Now, as the Executive Secretary of the African Forum, Agenda 2063 is always foremost at your mind, one would think. How will Agenda 2063 aid or help with the deepening of democracy and respect for election processes over the next decades?
I think it has a role to play. Agenda 2063 is the Africa we want, and Africa we want is a peaceful Africa, is a stable Africa, is a united Africa, is a strong Africa. And actually, elections do help in this process. And I think Agenda 2063, as you know, has a sequence of 10 years of plans. And this is an issue that perhaps it should be looked more closely, that we are getting problems with elections on the continent. And we will not be able to implement Agenda 2063 without peace, security, and stability on the continent.
Professor, thank you very much for joining us today here on the Newsroom Show. Of course, you'll be joining us every Monday from now on in to look at what happens in and around all the countries on the African continent, and also with what's happening with the African Forum. Thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
That's the Executive Secretary of the African Forum, Professor John Tesha, joining us live here on Newsroom this morning. Let's go to Elvis for more.
As you know, we're asking you that question 2 years after that disaster in Nigeria. We want to know from you whether or not you think TB Joshua has accounted for the deaths of 116 people at the synagogue church there. Let's take a look at some of your live tweets from the question of the day, and let's see if they can come through. This one from Lachasa Molo says, hashtag TB must fall. We lost 116 church members, but TB Joshua never done anything to help the deceased family. In fact, he was a happy man, says Lachasa Molo. This one from Doc Moses Villani says, Pastor Joshua has failed to account by refusing to attend the hearing and should be taken to the ICC. So says Doc Moses Villani. Defoe Johnson says, like many pastors in the US, his only interest, rather, is making money and not being a true Christian. He worships money and not the Lord. So says Defoe Johnson on the Twitter handle. Is there any more coming through? Let's see. In fact, that was the last one we got. We'll bring some of the other comments through, and we'll take them as we continue. We'll also read some of the Facebook page a little bit later. Let's now take a look. In fact, let's see if Facebook is up and running. Let's take a look at what's happening there. Now, there's if you take the page there's been some significant increase in the number of arrests of the alleged rhino poachers this year. Environmental Affairs Minister Edna Molewa said yesterday. And then the civil rights organization AfriForum and Trade Union Solidarity will on Monday make an urgent application in the High Court in Bloemfontein against the implementation of the University of the Free State's 2016 language policy. And then finally, the son of the former SABC board member Hope Zinde, Warona Zinde, will appear in the Brits Magistrates Court in the Northwest on Monday morning. That's today. Now he stands accused of his mother's murder. Now you can find all of these and more on our Facebook page, as well as the SABC News website. You can go there at any time. Let's now take a look at what's happening on the front pages from the newspapers from around the globe. And we start off in New York. The New York International Times reports that North Korea's latest test of an atomic weapon leaves the United States with an uncomfortable choice. Stick with a policy of incremental sanctions that has clearly failed to stop the country's nuclear advances, or pick among alternatives that range from the highly risk risky and repugnant, they said on the paper there. Let's now move to the United States. The USA Today says that Hillary Clinton was suffering from pneumonia. We reported on that earlier when she quickly departed a September 11 memorial ceremony in New York City yesterday, according to a doctor. An episode that may intensify calls for a fuller release of both candidates' medical records. And let's finally move to Australia. The Daily Telegraph reports that a lone wolf attacker inspired by the Islamic State terror group stabbed an innocent man multiple times as he walked his dog in Sydney Park because he embodied Australian culture, so says police. Well, that's all the news and some of the newspapers we have for you from around the globe. Let's take a break and we'll be right back after that.
We tell you about Africa's social media and technology landscape.
21st century economies rely on technology to truly thrive.
We have quite a comprehensive portfolio of interventions in the tech entrepreneurship space.
And Africans are using tech and social media to solve the continent's unique challenges.
App Nigeria is an online marketplace.
Radio Vibe is a social media platform for radio music.
That's Network with me, Pumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Welcome back. It's been a very busy sporting weekend. Of course, for the Boks, it wasn't the greatest of weekends. Kendall, really tough weekend for Springbok coach Alistair Coetzee.
Tough times. I mean, one needs to look at the headlines to see that things like the flat lady's about to sing and so on and so forth. The honeymoon really is over for Alistair Coetzee. He's had a couple of matches under his belt and people are not really happy with neither the results nor some of the selections. I think he's facing a bit of a tough time right now. And one thing I can tell you is that he's called up Willem Alberts. That's the latest news coming out of the camp to play in that match against the All Blacks over the weekend to replace Louis de Jager. Some people say, you know, he's harking back to yesteryear. He's showing a distinct lack of confidence in his own tactics and his own style of play to be bringing back players that were trying to muscle their way through over to the try line.
Yeah, it looks like he's a little bit caught between two worlds at the moment, and I suppose a lack of confidence. But for Alistair Coetzee, it's really an indictment of, I think, where he is mentally with bringing back Willem Alberts. There are other players that play a different style of rugby that maybe he should think about. Guys like Jaco Kriel and the like, who've really set the world on fire. Willem Alberts has been nowhere. We haven't even read of him in the papers anywhere.
Another player we've not heard anything about most recently is Morné Steyn. I mean, he brought Morné Steyn in towards the end of that match. Morné Steyn is sitting on the bench. We all know that Morné Steyn, what does he do? If he's in trouble, he kicks. Whether it's aimless or it's going to gain something for the Springboks is all something to be debated at a later stage. But yeah, there's a lot that to be said about Alistair Coetzee and his selections.
Then quickly, we've got 30 seconds to deal with this one. It was a really tough one for Jose Mourinho this weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, at Old Trafford with everybody watching, everybody expecting fireworks from his side. That opening goal by De Bruyne was something that nobody wanted to have happen to Mourinho. But tell you what, you know, this rivalry between Manchester United and City is going to light up the English Premier League this year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to light it up. But it's the Blues that have the edge right now. That's where we have to leave it. This was a hammer blow.
Absolutely.
There we go. 2-0 up after.
And here, Nacho.
After not even half an hour.
And here, Nacho's the guy that scores and not Rashford. But you know what? Yeah. I'm going to be looking forward to that rivalry as well.
Tough one. Let's go to Phil Hawkins, who's standing by with a weather update.
Yeah, thank you. Going on in terms of your weather.
Thank you very much. Well, let's take a look at what's going on in terms of your weather. We're going to start off with Southern Africa's southern regions here. We're seeing isolated showers forecast for today, growing to scattered showers. This is the result of a approaching and indeed passing low pressure system. This pressure system is bringing in that rainfall all the way through the area. Great news for some areas coming in towards that interior of South Africa, as we really need that rainfall there. And for today, we're definitely expecting it in a lot of those regions. As we move through the day and into tomorrow, we're going to see that migrating further towards the east. It's beginning to affect KZN and the surrounding areas. Again, great news for KZN, which is still under heavy water stress. They're definitely expecting that to come up towards Gauteng. Might just get some light rainfall in Gauteng and areas in the Highveld. Again, great news for that area. We definitely need some of that spring rainfall to start coming here. So let's take a look at what's going on in terms of your city's weather today. Pretoria is at about 30 degrees, Pietermaritzburg 33. Isolated showers forecast over Cape Town with an 18-degree maximum, so it is going to be a little bit mild there. And again, this is the result of dense cloud cover, cool air brought in by that low pressure system as well. Central Africa expecting showers and thunder showers, and those extend down towards the Congo, but it also extends as far south as the far northern parts of Angola. So definitely expecting some rainfall there. Again, summer rainfall beginning to come down as we move into spring, beginning to move further and further south. So that rainfall affecting some areas which we've definitely seen be unusually dry for this time of year. So moving on into tomorrow, Bangui, still expecting showers there and dense showers around that area there, and those extend south towards Kinshasa, Brazzaville and the surrounding areas as well, even getting as far south as Luanda. And indeed, Luanda peaks at 26 degrees for today, temperatures of 37 forecast for the Congo region there, and moving towards Nairobi, Kampala, 26-degree highs. Showers coming down as far as that as well, nicely far south as we can see. Temperatures moving as far north, showers moving as far north, not quite as Port Sudan for the moment, or Khartoum. But for today, we are expecting showers in Addis Ababa again, so rainfall forecast for the area. Rainfall also extending down towards Al Fajr, so great news for that area too. Very dry one there, getting some rainfall for today. It's going to be hot there though, 39-degree highs forecast there. Khartoum's at 42 and temperatures rising well into the 40s as we look through the rest of South Africa, Africa's northeastern areas as well as the Middle East. It's going to be a hot one, it's going to be a dry one, not a lot of cloud cover forecast there. But that, of course, changes as we move towards West Africa. Seeing showers beginning to come in towards Las Palmas, Marrakesh, but then really adjusting themselves towards that southwestern area. They're really getting quite strong in some of these areas as well. We're going to see high wind speeds as these storms approach and then pass over. We're also going to see those gusting winds continuing well into this evening and into tomorrow as well. Very quickly, the temperatures, Bamako's at about 32 degrees, Niamey 41, temperatures along the southern coastline into the higher 20s. This is where we're going to leave your weather for now, but do stay tuned. There's a lot more coming up.
Hello again. It's just gone 10 o'clock here on the Newsroom show. You're watching SABC News. I'm Evan Jansen, just been joined by Rene West. Morning, Rene.
Good morning, Evan.
Rene will be bringing you all the latest updates shortly. But before we get there, of course, we've been asking you the question of the day. Our question of the day deals with exactly 2 years ago today, a church collapsed in Nigeria. Of course, it was a very high-profile case as 85 South Africans lost their lives in this disaster, 116 people in total. We're asking you, has TB Joshua accounted for the death of these people? Now, we've got quite a few tweets coming in. Let's have a look at what you are saying on social media.
Lachasa says, we lost 116 church members, but TB Joshua never did anything to help the deceased families. In fact, he was a happy man. Quite a statement.
Yes, it is. Dr. Moses Belani says, Newsroom, Pastor Joshua has failed to account by refusing to attend the hearings and should be taken to the International Criminal Court. Strong words there from Dr. Moses Belani.
Wu Johnson says, like many pastors in the US, his only interest is making money and not being a true Christian. He worships money, not the Lord. Also, very strong sentiments coming in here.
Yeah, very strong words. People are quite emotional, of course, about this issue. But exactly 2 years ago today, 116 people lost their lives. 85 of them, of course, South African nationals that travelled to the Synagogue Church of Nations. Now, let's get the morning's news headlines with Rene West.
Six more illegal miners have surfaced at the disused mine in Langlaagte, south of Johannesburg this morning. The search for 6 more miners trapped underground still continues. Today marks the 39th anniversary of the death of Steve Bantu Biko, the anti-apartheid activist and founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. And of course, the death toll from an earthquake in Tanzania has risen to 16. Before we get to that news, let's go over to Kendall Mahamate, who has your sports update.
Good morning, Renee. Good morning, Eben, and good morning to you at home as well. It's been a massive sporting weekend. It's Monday morning, and this is what we've got for you in the sports today.
The final of the men's 100 metres.
At the Paralympics, Team SA is living up to expectations as Charles du Toit wins the T37 100 metres, taking South Africa's medal tally to 5 after just 4 days.
Du Toit's going to take it! 11:45! So fast! Mohammed looked to be in second place. I think Van der Merwe up in third. Brilliant!
Chipa United hold Pito Musimane's Mamelodi Sundowns to a goalless draw in their MTN8 first leg semi-final.
That's how it happens. Stan Wawrinka wins his 3rd Grand Slam.
Stan Wawrinka beats world #1 and defending champion Novak Djokovic in a thrilling 4 sets to become the 2016 men's US Open champion. All this and more we've got for you in a sports bulletin about 11:40 or so. But for now, it's back to Renee, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. 6 more miners have resurfaced in Langlaagte at the disused mine in Langlaagte, south of Johannesburg. Their families and relatives are pleading with authorities to allow them to go down and bring out their loved ones. Now, a group of illegal miners who went underground last week started experiencing breathing problems after they were overcome by carbon monoxide gases. Yesterday, the miners' rescue services suspended the operation due to an underground fire and dangerous gases. Families of those still trapped underground say if given a chance, they'll be able to bring them to surface. Now, for more on this, let's go over to Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rene. Very good morning if you've just joined us. Yes, this is a developing story. Of course, we're waiting for the Mineral Resources Minister, Mozabenzi Zwane, to make an appearance at the Langlaagte disused mine, to set the way forward, how the rescue operation will be proceeding. But let's go to Griselda Lewis, who is standing by at Langlaagte to give us the very latest update. A very good morning to you, Griselda. Has the minister made an appearance yet?
Well, a very good morning to you once again, Eben. Well, the visuals that you're seeing just on your screen at this point are of some of the relatives of those that remain trapped underground. They say they're now preparing to go underground. They say that the rescue mission that has been trying since over the weekend to try and rescue those that remain trapped has been fruitless, and they're saying they're now prepared to go underground themselves. You know, of course, that the rescue operation had been suspended. It remains suspended because of the smoke detection. They detected some smoke underground. So the situation is quite dangerous. And at this point, we're waiting for the Mineral Resources Minister, Mosebenzi Zwane, to make his way here. And certainly that will give an indication of whether this rescue mission will continue here this morning. We understand he's currently in a meeting at the police station, which is not too far away from the Johannesburg Emergency Services. So I think when he arrives here a bit later on this morning, he will give an indication of how this rescue mission, if at all it does resume, will continue. But for those who are just tuning in at the moment, that is the whole right there, where just a few minutes ago, about 20 minutes there, Eben, where another group of miners who had been underground also surfaced, and we're not sure at this stage if they're part of the group that were trapped underground. The three that did emerge a bit earlier on this morning did give an indication of the fact that they were part of that group that was trapped, and they explained in grave detail there about how dangerous the situation is and how they were being choked by smoke underground, and managed to gain safe passage coming out of this disused mine at this stage. So no indication at this stage, Eben, about what really is going to happen next. But I think of major concern at this point is the fact that these relatives who have been distraught, have been irate since this morning and saying there's absolutely no activity going on here. They're concerned that as the hours continue to go by, that really does put their relatives in a very difficult situation, saying they're fearing for their relatives' lives and that this operation needs to get underway as well. They're saying they're going to go and get the necessary equipment to try and gain entry into this disused mine. Speaking to the police just a few minutes ago, well, the police are essentially saying they're not going to allow anyone to go into this mine because of the dangerous situation, and anyone who does so would certainly do so at their own peril. So, you know, the situation here at the moment is of these gentlemen you can see here behind me who are saying that they cannot stand and fold their arms while their relatives remain underground at this point. So essentially what we're waiting for at this point, in terms of a police presence, there's just a few police officers here and there, but nothing essentially to stop these relatives from going underground. They say they cannot stand and fold their arms while their relatives remain there, and there's no indication whatsoever at this point whether the rescue mission itself will resume. So I'm going to try and speak to one of these gentlemen, if at all, they will speak to us at this point. Butwam, baningasondela kancinci nje butwam ngapha sike sithethe nawe butwam. Nilinde ntoni ke ngoku apha khawusondele kancinci butwam? Oh, okay ke butwam. Kodwa ke nisamile ke ngoku apha bhuti, nilinde abanye nje ukuthi baphume. Sorry.
Silinde abanye ukuthi baphume. Lava ngalanda abantu la sephansi la. Izulu kodwa ngisazi madala.
Oh. Abanye ke ngoku laba besebephumile. Aba part of their group awungasondela kancinci tata besike sathetha nawe a bit earlier on. Ke ngoku bhuti aba baphumile, the 6 miners who've just come from underground, are they part of the group that was trapped?
No. Abantu baningi abaphansi laba ngabaphuma kwamanye amathonela. Ayisibo kule party okunabantu khona aba serious. No.
Jeba kuthiwa ke ngoku abanye bayolanda izinto bafuna ukungena apha ngaphakathi.
Laba abalanda izinto ngabafuna ukulanda bona labo ukuthonela. Laba abahluleke khona ukungena laba izolo.
ke ngokuna ningafuna ntoni ku-Minister of Mineral Resources ukuthi kuthiwa uzawufika apha azowujonga isimo ukuthi sinjani and ningafuna ntoni kuye nje malungana nesi simo esikhoyo apha?
Sinceda ngako. Thina singafuna amathoshi kuphela. Amathoshi nje iyo esingafuna ngoba lami nginje ngifuna ukungena phakathi.
Awoyiki?
Hayi cha. Angeyike ukungena. Ngilinde nje ithoshi ukuthi ibuye ngene. Yebo. Ngoba lo tshonile umfowethu omunye. Yebo.
Abakamlandi usekhona pha ngaphakathi?
Usephakathi yebo. Abakamlandi.
Essentially, what this gentleman is saying is that they're waiting for some of the other relatives to bring some torches so that they're able to go underground and retrieve, for example, the body of one of his relatives who he says is still underground. And certainly those are the reports that we're getting from the police at this stage, that one person has died. But that body remains underground at this stage. But, many of these relatives continue to wait here. It'll certainly be interesting to hear what the minister will say with regard to whether this rescue mission does resume here this morning. But before the minister, I guess, even gets here at this point, these irate relatives are saying that they're going to go and fetch their relatives themselves, a situation certainly which is of grave concern for the police at this point, as well as, I guess, the minister who will come here at this point. Elvis, we've been covering the issue relating to illegal mining in South Africa for a very long time. You'd recall about 2 years back, we went underground on the East Rand, where a lot of this illegal mining activity, has been going on for many years. And certainly what the Department of Mineral Resources has failed to do at this point is to contain the situation. While these disused mines have been closed over the years, these illegal miners open those holes themselves, and that's how they gain entry. And this might not be the only entry and exit point at this mine. There's also concern that some of the illegal miners who have gone in here perhaps may have gone out at another hole that had been dug somewhere else. But there's no clarity at all at this stage about whether that indeed is the case. In terms of the numbers, it's certainly unclear in terms of the numbers at this point, because the 6 miners who emerged just a few minutes ago, we understand, are not part of the group, according to the gentleman we've just spoken to, are not part of the group that was trapped. But the 3 that we reported on earlier did describe the scenes and, the smoke that was detected there, saying it was very difficult for them to breathe. So it's a very difficult situation here at this point, and certainly we'll wait to hear what the Minister of Resources does say. We're seeing some more gentlemen here who are going towards the entrance there, and we presume at this point they're part of those who are saying they are going to risk their lives and go into that hole and go and find their loved ones at this point. But we'll certainly bring you more on that. Stay tuned as well. We'll bring you live that press conference that the Minister of Mineral... As you can see, those live visuals, some of those individuals are now going inside. Live visuals at this point here on SABC News. There you have the relatives of some of the trapped miners now going into that hole without any equipment at this stage, without any torches. But they say they're able to navigate this space quite well, and they do not trust the rescue mission that has been brought in here to come and retrieve or to essentially rescue the miners who remain trapped here at this point. So far, the visuals that you just saw, 3 of the relatives of those miners who have been trapped have gone inside that mine at this stage. So certainly it's going to be a situation where the police will now have their hands full. They did a few minutes ago indicate that whoever goes inside there does so at their own peril. They're certainly unable to contain the situation. Babu K. Makubela, if we can just have a word with you at this point, please. We're live on air at this time. If you could please just join us. Let's just get a very quick update from you. Let me just make some space for you. And the police spokesperson, K. Makubela, let me see if I can just get you into this shot. Just apologize there to the viewers as well, because This is a live broadcast and things are certainly unfolding here. Babuke Makubela, the spokesperson for the Gauteng police, we've just seen some of the relatives of those who are trapped go inside the mine. It certainly seems like you're unable to contain the situation at the moment.
No, we not to say we are unable to contain the situation. We didn't see that there are people who get in there. And then that's why we put all those red tapes there, that nobody must go down there because it is dangerous. The mines rescuers was here yesterday and they've indicated that there is a smoke underneath there. So it is not safe for anyone to go down. So anyone who's going down is going down on his own risk, because really it is not acceptable for a person to go down where it is danger to go and die as well. If they will die. So that's what we are appealing. We have appealed to the people that please, they must not come in and get in here. Let them wait for the mines rescuers until they clear it and they go and rescue those who are trapped inside there.
But their concern at this point is that as the hours go by, their relatives are at risk. We know what the situation is. You have detected smoke underground, and the 3 illegal miners who surfaced a bit earlier on this morning did indicate that they're unable to breathe.
But that it won't help. For them to go down where it is dangerous, they are going to be trapped as well in there. So that's why we are appealing to them. Let them wait. The professional go and assess the place. If it is ready for them to go down, they will go down and assist those people down there. So now if they go, they are adding the numbers who are inside here. So that's why we are appealing. Anyone must not go down. And if anyone go down while watching him, we will arrest those people. Like now, we didn't see that there are people who are going down. Now when we come here, we thought the people are coming out. But now if there are people went down, they must know that really we are going to arrest them. This is illegally, and we don't want people to die here. As the police, our job is to protect and serve, and we need people to be protected.
There doesn't seem to be a sufficient a police presence here at all. You are here. We saw 3 other police officers. So certainly these irate relatives don't feel the need. All you can do is appeal at this point. But their concern is what's happening underground. Do you plan to bring in more police to come and contain the situation?
I think if you can look at the back there, you will see more police officers now. You saw that there were 2 officers before, but just look now, there are more police officers. Besides that, these red tapes, it's indicating that people must not go down. It is dangerous. That's what we are appealing. That's why they put those things, is because they want people to be safe.
All right, Kay Makubelo, thank you very much for your time. We'll certainly get some updates from him throughout the course of the day here. What we've just seen is 3 of the relatives of those who remain trapped underground went inside this mine. They say they're tired of waiting. They can't fold their arms while the rescue mission has been halted at the stage. And a clear call by the police there that anyone who goes underground, they're participating in an illegal activity and they will be arrested. But that certainly hasn't seemed to have deterred the relatives of those who remain underground, who are saying that they're not going to comply by that. And certainly it remains to be seen at this point what the Minister of Mineral Resources will say at this point. We know that illegal mining in South Africa is costing the economy billions of rand, and it has been increasing every year. The more these disused mines are closed, these illegal miners who say that's their only source of income, they are going to continue going underground. They've also been saying at this point, there's one of the gentlemen who has just come back from underground at this stage, one also emerging. And what we're seeing is the police are now calling these gentlemen to perhaps question them about what they were doing as they went underground. The police at the stage, whether they will effect an arrest at this point certainly remains to be seen. Stay with us here on SABC News, and what certainly looks like police are going to take some action at this point.
Griselda, can I ask you a question?
Some of these gentlemen who have now...
Griselda, can I ask you a question? While this is happening, just tell us about the mood there, because we know the high levels of violence amongst these miners.
Please, That place is not safe for those people. Bangangeni phakathi abalinde bazothi mababuyile laba bantu bazo-assessa le phakathi then laba bantu bazobalanda leni maningena laphana nithatha impilo yenu nifake engozini.
Uyazi ukuthi ikhona into siyicabangayo baba Makhwele la phansi kukhona abantu abangafanga abalimele and most yabantu abangamaphoyisa umsebenzi lo kungena phansi abawazi Nkosi yami. So thina sizwe kuhlungu ngoba sijakela ukoseva umphefemulo lo olapha yani. Yiloko kusizwele sakuhlungu sivumelana nawe baba njengomuntu omkhulu nomqondo uyasibonisa kwezinye izinto. But just because kunaleyo mphefemulo siyaziyo ukuthi bayaphila abanye. Sijaka ukuthi igovernment kube ingasiye abasiyeke sizenzele sibalande laba abazayo sibabekela eduze nani sibali kunjani.
Well, the police and some of the relatives of those who remain trapped are certainly in discussion at this point about what needs to happen next, as the relatives say they cannot allow their loved ones to remain underground with their future uncertain at this point. Police trying to convince them not to go underground, but unsuccessfully so at this point, as these relatives say they simply cannot fold their arms. And this discussion here between the police and these relatives continues, but they really need to, if I may, twist their arm a little bit more, as these relatives say. They simply cannot wait at this stage, there, Urban. But we'll bring you a lot more from here at the mine in Langlaagte, where we're expecting, of course, again, which will bring you live the arrival of the Mineral Resources Minister Mosebenzi Zwane. I guess we'll try to come and convince these relatives at this stage that going underground would not be in their best interest. It's unsafe. It's dangerous to go underground this disused mine. So police would need to continue engaging the relatives who are quite distraught and waiting for any news at this point on whether this rescue mission will get underway at all at this stage. But we'll certainly bring you more. We are expecting, of course, the minister, we understand, is in that discussion with the police at this stage and the other stakeholders, which would include, of course, the City of Johannesburg's emergency services. And we'll certainly have a bit more clarity on what happens next here at this stage.
Thank you very much to Griselda. There, as you can see, it's all happening at the back there. I doubt if she could hear me. I wanted to ask her about the volatile exchanges that can be expected. As you can see, emotions are running high. We'll be back with Griselda as soon as anything develops, or as well a little bit later when the minister is expected. But Griselda, can you hear me?
Thank you. We're off.
Okay, no, she can't hear me. She's off, she says. She's off. Not off too far, because the Mineral Resources Minister will be there shortly. As soon as he gets there, he's expected to do a press conference. Griselda will be talking to him, get an update. Also, if anything happens, we know that it's quite a volatile situation. We've seen high levels of violence between rival mining gangs in recent times. We'll be sure to be there as soon as anything happens, but we're waiting for the minister to come to make pronouncement as to how the rescue effort will proceed or if it will be suspended. As you can see, mining family members of those miners trapped underground, they want to go well, it's now a very dangerous situation. We'll be right on top of it. But let's go to Renee as we continue with the news.
Thank you, Eben. Now, students' organisation SASCO has called on management of the University of KwaZulu-Natal to resign, saying it's failing to give proper leadership. The university's campuses have been rocked by 2 weeks of violent disruptions. Vehicles and buildings have been set alight. Students are protesting over fees, allegations of rape on campus and mismanagement. Meanwhile, the university has called an urgent executive management committee meeting to address all the outstanding issues. Now, addressing the media, SASCO says they will seek a meeting with the police minister regarding their concerns over alleged police assault of students during the UKZN protests. SASCO's executive committee has resolved to put pressure on Cabinet and the Treasury to find money to fund free education. They want the Fees Commission to pronounce on whether or not free education is possible. Now, following the ANC's poor showing in the municipal elections, SASCO says it's time the ANC face reality and address people's concerns. For more on this, let's go back to Eben.
Yeah, thank you very much. And of course, we were supposed to speak to the SRC president at the UKZN Howard College campus. His name is Bandile Majola. He was a little bit late earlier, but he's finally made it to our Durban studios. Mr. Bandile Majola, good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to be here.
Now, your demands have now increased. You now have 73 demands, I understand, that you need to be addressed on the campus. Is that number accurate, and how do you expect 73 demands to be addressed?
Well, thank you. I may not be sure of how many demands there are in totality.
You don't know how many demands you have?
We do have demands. And the number that it has increased to must be alarming to all of you. But what we must make clear is that those demands are not demands that started today or yesterday. It's demands that have been there for quite some time, and we've been expecting management to do something to change what we've been asking for, and up until this time, nothing has happened. We'd really like it if the society in general would respond to us and listen to us as students. Because right now, we are finding ourselves in a situation where the broader society is going to think we are being unreasonable by having 73 demands.
It is true that society thinks that you're being unreasonable. You have 73 demands, but society thinks you are more unreasonable because you're burning libraries, you're burning vehicles, you're burning cafes, you're behaving in a criminal way.
You know, the South African Constitution says everyone is innocent until they are proven guilty. And for you to take a stance on this and pronounce that students are the ones that did this is wrong, and we feel that you should...
Who are suspected then? Bandile, if I can ask you, who do you suspect of these crimes? If I can ask you this. Who do you say, you say students are not involved, who do you suspect then of these crimes? Surely you must have an idea then.
You know, if our parents would, because I take you as a parent right now, would stop being aggressive towards us as students and deal with the issues that we have.
The issues that the parents have, Bandile, the parents have issues that you're burning libraries and cafes and you're causing generations to come different. You say it's not you. I'm asking you as a parent, who do you think it is that's burning stuff on campus?
What I'm saying is, let us allow for proper channels and authorities to ensure to do investigations, because they are there for that reason, you know. So up until they pronounce that who the person that is responsible, then we cannot say it is students. At the same time, because right now you can't...
More than 40 students have been arrested by the police.
Once we find out that it is not actually students that burnt the cafeteria or the library.
I spoke to the police. I spoke to the police earlier, Bandile. I spoke to the police a little bit earlier, and the police say they have, up until Friday, arrested more than 40 students. Surely that must concern you.
Yes, it is concerning that students who are abused on campus during protests are the ones that do not have authority. It is unfair to students, to be precise. Because on that day when students were arrested, I'll speak for Howard College alone, students were shot.
Mm-hmm. They were shot.
A lot of students in a residence where disability unit students stay. That residence was tear-gassed, but you did not say anything about that.
I asked the police a little bit earlier. I spoke to the police, and the police say there's an allegation of rape. Nobody went to lay a charge of rape. There are allegations of assault. Nobody's laid any charges. Why hasn't any charges been laid if you make these claims, as you say?
The problem is that we are too quick to move from one issue to the next without actually addressing
You have 73 issues.
Right,
we have to deal with the issues. You have 73 issues, Bandile. We have to go from one issue to the next.
Yes, we have to go from one issue to the next. But these, as I had said earlier, these are not new issues. These are issues that started a long time ago. And it is this attitude from society that is making sure that universities get away with everything they do.
Bandile, society...
When we apply to UKZN, we are told that we are going to stay in residences that are conducive for learning. We are told that we are going to be safe on campuses. We are told that every student matters. The curriculum has not changed. It is
Bandile, but the University of KwaZulu-Natal is the most transformed university in the country. It's come a long way. It should be an example, and the students should be an example for what all the other universities in the country should then be like. Surely we can't have the things happening on campus that is happening.
We cannot put prestige over the real issues. Yes, the University of KwaZulu-Natal is the most transformed institution, but that must not mask the issues that exist there.
But Bandile...
Whether we are in a transformed institution or in an untransformed institution, we have issues. And as UKZN is providing a service to us as students, and we are clients to UKZN, and if UKZN is not addressing our grievances, then we are entitled as clients of the institution to say we are unhappy with these things. And
but we are not entitled to burn the institution, Bandile.
I had said, I am going to correct you again. We did not burn the institution.
Who do you suspect of this, if I may ask you then? You are the head of the SRC. Who do you suspect?
I am not the police.
No, surely you've had your own investigations on campus. Surely you guys talk and you suspect people. Because if you have 73 demands and you say if you don't meet our demands, we're going to do something, take up our rights and all these things, then surely you are the suspects in this case. I'm not saying you did it. I'm saying but the world right now suspects that the students are behind this.
You know, I'm starting to understand why you were called intellectually bankrupt. Because you are not willing to listen to anything.
But we can't burn our institutions, Bandile. Surely you'd agree with me.
Listen to me. Let me educate you for a moment.
Please don't be condescending. We're dealing with the issues. You yourself don't even know how many demands you have. You come on here, you call me intellectually bankrupt, but you don't have yourself. You don't know how many demands you have, and you're coming on this platform. You tell me, I don't know how many demands we have. What do you say to that?
What I'm saying is that whether there are 73 demands that we have or 78 is not actually the real issue. The real issue is that demands have accumulated over the years for so long without being addressed that they've accumulated to this number. And you are coming here and you are judging us as
I'm not judging you. I want to understand. I want to understand why. Like everyone in South Africa,
if you want to understand anything, you do not take a position. You came here, you took a position that students are the ones that are reasonable, are the reason for the burning of.
We spoke to the police. They say they've made these arrests. You did not
listen to anything that I had to say to you because you are here at UKZN and you understand the situation at UKZN better than us students. What we are saying is that we need society, parents who are paying money, to question what is happening. What we need to do here is that we see that there are real issues in UKZN and other institutions of higher learning. Then we must act as a society. We must not just judge students for
No, we're not judging you, Bandile, but we want to know.
That students have, we as students ourselves want to know. And we are saying we are open to being investigated ourselves. But we must not be the only people that are being investigated.
Bandile, my director tells me we've run out of time, but I want to invite you back because we have to have discussions. We have to discuss this matter. Hopefully we can bring all the stakeholders together and talk about the way forward. Are you prepared to do that?
Indeed, we must sit together.
Thank you.
When we are sitting together and trying to address these issues, you must not come there with a position that
it's not a position, Bandile. It's just the pictures we're sending out.
You came here. You came here. You are saying that students are the reason why.
No, I'm not accusing you. That's what the police say. They've arrested students, and the students are going to be charged with these crimes. That's what Colonel Tulani Zwane told me. But I'm going to invite you back because we've run out of time. Thank you for coming on today. It's a discussion that we all need to have together. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
That's Bandile Majola. He's the SRC president at the University of KwaZulu-Natal's Howard College campus. The campus, of course, where the law library was burnt and a whole lot of other activities. Bandile says they want this matter to be investigated and only will make pronouncements once there's a criminal. A little bit earlier, we spoke to the police. They say more than 40 students have been arrested and they will follow through on this process. That's where we leave that now. We will follow up with it in the weeks to come as to how we proceed with the fees must fall crisis that we have on our campuses. Let's go to Rene for more.
Thank you very much, Eben. Now, moving on to other news. Today marks the 39th anniversary of the death of Steve Bantu Biko, the anti-apartheid activist and founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. Now, Biko died in police custody on the 12th of September 1977 in Pretoria. Through his writings and activism, he attempted to empower black people. Biko was famous for his slogan, "Black is Beautiful." Every year, UNISA organizes a lecture in honor of his memory. The most recent high-profile speaker to deliver the lecture was the American activist Professor Angela Davies over the weekend. Moving on to news from further afield, the death toll in Tanzania has risen to 16. Meanwhile, President Zuma has extended condolences to President John Magufuli. Authorities in the town of Bukoba, which was close to the epicenter of the earthquake that struck northwestern Tanzania, say the situation is under control. The death toll following a magnitude 5.7 earthquake has reached 16. Authorities say 203 others, or rather 250 as other reports suggest, they are still being hospitalized. Now, the earthquake was felt far away as Rwanda, Burundi and Kenya. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake struck at a depth of 10 kilometers. 2 years ago, 116 people, including 85 South Africans, were killed when the guest building of the Synagogue Church of All Nations collapsed in Lagos, Nigeria. The Nigerian government instituted an inquiry, but no one has been found responsible yet.
12 September 2014. A catastrophe that left many families devastated. 116 worshippers were killed when the Synagogue Church of All Nations guest house collapsed, and scores more were injured. Now, 2 years later, no one has been prosecuted despite an inquiry into the disaster. 26 of the injured South Africans were airlifted from Nigeria and treated at the Steve Biko Academic Hospital in Pretoria. Families of the 85 deceased had to wait 2 months for DNA testing to be concluded before they could be buried. The church maintains it was not responsible. It says CCTV footage of the collapsed building points to an implosion because of an infrasonic sound weapon coming from a plane. Church leader, Prophet T.B. Joshua, is yet to appear before an inquiry. According to the Church's Council, the Board of Trustees is a legal entity which could be represented by anybody and not necessarily the church founder.
Now, in other news, a year ago, rhino poaching was declared a national priority crime. Yesterday, Minister of Environmental Affairs, Edna Molewa, released findings of the progress report on the implementation of the integrated strategic management of rhinos. Now, later this month, South Africa will host COP17 and CITES Convention. Now, joining us on the line is 50/50 presenter and filmmaker Bonnet Debod. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Renee.
What was so significant about this announcement yesterday?
Yes, Renee, the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Mrs. Edna Molewa, released the latest report on rhino poaching yesterday morning. Now, this is the third report back to the nation for 2016. Now, of course, before we get to the number of rhinos poached so far, I must say that this is always a contentious issue. The reason why this is always so controversial is the department used to update states monthly with a provincial breakdown. Now, they stopped doing this some time ago, and this, of course, raised concerns with some NGOs and activist organizations who claim that the stats were released monthly. So why this shift to only releasing stats several times during the year? Now, I asked Minister Molewa about this a few press conferences ago, and she told me that she's not sure why there is such an outcry about this, as the department is doing this to keep the focus off the negative aspects of the numbers. And that is also enables there to be a thorough report back quarterly. Although, Renee, I must say the provincial breakdowns are not being released. Another claim is that the government is not keeping the correct tally of numbers, both of rhinos killed by poaching and rhinos left in the country. So not only controversial, but also rather touchy. The minister herself has said one rhino poached is one rhino too many. So it's never really going to be a victory until there is no poaching. But the minister did say in her statement yesterday that whilst victory could not be claimed outright, there are promising signs that rhino poaching is now on a downward trend in South Africa. But it is important to remember that this trend is in the number of rhino carcasses found. The illegal incursions into Kruger have increased by nearly 30%. Now, according to the report, 702 rhinos have been poached since the beginning of 2016. The Kruger National Park, the hardest hit area, has seen a decrease with a total number of 458 poached rhino carcasses found, representing a nearly 18% decline in the number of rhino carcasses as per the department's stats. Sadly, however, the minister's report went on to say that poaching syndicates may be moving their operations elsewhere in the country as the number of rhinos poached increase in other provinces such as KwaZulu-Natal, the Free State and the Northern Cape. But still, Renee, this dent in rhino poaching is encouraging news and definitely a positive step in the right direction, but it's still unacceptably high. You know, at this stage, we are losing 88 rhinos a month.
Well, thank you very much for that update, Bonnet. That was Bonnet de Bod, the filmmaker and 50/50 presenter, giving us an update there. Well, now it's time to take a break. Rather, before we take a break, let's take a closer look at the topics doing the rounds on social media. Now, Pretoria Girls High disappeared off the charts as quickly as it arrived. The UK's protests grabbed the nation's attention, while Occupy Luthuli House also reached the top of the charts. In international news, the 9/11 anniversary is one of the largest stories, and the launch of the iPhone 7 is bigger than the Paralympics, while Samsung's recall of their Note 5 is bigger than Africa's Cup of Nations and almost the size of the Hajj. Now, joining us in studio is Managing Director at Roy Africa, Tonya Curie. A very good morning to you, Tonya.
Good morning, Renee. Lovely to be here.
Well, it seems we have quite an interesting shift of the trends. It seems like a lot of people want to rather talk about politics and other issues, you know, as they come up.
You know, I think we're suffering from a short attention span. You know, we had Pretoria Girls High was the biggest story by a mile last week, a good 25% of ROI's charts. And this week it's gone. It's less than 1% on social media and about 1.3% in news media. So as quickly as it took over the charts, it completely disappeared within a very short space of time. And I'm wondering if it's because social media and news media has been consumed at such an alarming rate, and we shift our focus very dramatically. You know, another example is this week we had Occupy Luthuli House, which was a very big story, and then it became a smaller story towards the end of the week. We also had UKZN, which is, I think, the biggest story on the charts this week as far as social media is concerned.
And what are people actually saying about the UKZN? I know there's a lot of support for the students that are fighting for education. They're fighting for the fee decrease and accommodation, and they've got all these issues that they're fighting for. But in the same time, there's a lot of talk about the way they're protesting. What are people saying on social media?
I think firstly a couple of things. The social media has become the journalist again. So again, the social media users are reporting as if they were journalists with very factual content, which is good to see. And then secondly, there is support, but there's also a lot of damning, particularly when it comes to the universities, libraries, and the resources that were destroyed. So there's a lot of outcry about that as well. So very polarized social media as far as the UKZM protests were. It's the biggest story, but I think it'll disappear as fast as it appeared, because that's what we're seeing with social media at the moment. Fickle.
Well, in international news, I noticed that it seems people care more about the latest technology than a lot of the other issues.
Unbelievable, the iPhone 7's ability, or iPhone's ability, to market the product to such a level that iPhone 7's launch is 3 times the size of the Paralympic Games. I mean, that stat astonished me. Between the two, iPhone and Samsung, over a 7-day period, I think we got a good 10% of the international chart. So a good 3 or 4% under Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. That's how big technology gadgets have become in the media space. Huge.
And you see the Hajj, that was one of the bigger events over the weekend, as well as the 9/11. But do the other big events like the Hajj actually gain a lot of attraction on social media?
I think this particular event didn't get as much as it would normally do, and I'm not sure why that is. It was just over 1% of the international charts over a 7-day period. The images are truly beautiful, so that makes good social media content, maybe not so much news content, and perhaps that's why we're seeing that shift there. From a news side, it's slightly smaller. But yes, the normal run-of-the-mill US electioneering is still the biggest stories and has been for the longest time.
And Hillary was said to be a bit sick. Are people sending their message of support or condolences?
Oh, I don't know about support and condolences, but a lot of speculation out there. You know, there have been these coughing so-called fits that have happened over an extended period of time. So now they're saying, okay, maybe it was pneumonia. There was a lot of concern for her health, but that's come to the fore now that it may have been the pneumonia that was causing it all the time. But not sure about support, Renee. A lot of speculation, certainly.
And also, now we always look at these international charts and we always see a lack of an African focus.
Yes.
But over the past 2 weeks, we've seen a lot of instability around Africa, and then also we saw the Tanzanian earthquake, which is quite a big news story on the continent. And it hasn't made the charts.
It didn't make the charts as of yesterday, but I think the story hasn't had time to grow. I think the images are starting to come out now. You know, we started with a 2 or 3 death toll, and that's climbed dramatically overnight. Many buildings have been destroyed. So I think maybe tomorrow we may see an impact of the Tanzanian earthquake. Because it's unusual for our continent. We don't see earthquakes on our continent in general, you know. So it might make a bigger impact than what other earthquakes have done in the past. I mean, the Italy earthquake made no impact at all, which was astonishing.
Well, thank you very much, Tonya, for joining us today and just giving us that wrap of all the social media trends.
You're so welcome.
That, of course, is Managing Director of Roy Africa, Tonya Curry. Well, it's time now to take a break. We'll be back after this.
The Divas of Kofifi were honored with a musical production, taking you through the highlights of the lives of these remarkable women.
I just played this little role where I show the life and times of Mam Dorothy Masuku from when she moved from Bulawayo to South Africa.
I'm playing Thandi Mbambane Klassen. She speaks her mind. She doesn't take no for an answer.
I will be playing Umam Abigail Kubeka, who is one of the most prolific female icons in South Africa. She was a triple threat, which means she was a singer, dancer, actress.
For your weekly dose of arts and entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Good morning, welcome back. My name is Kendall Makhamat and I've got your sports on Newsroom. Time hit just about 10 to 11, I think it is, yes, 10 to 11. Our top story is about the US Open, where third seed Stanislav Wawrinka of Switzerland clinched his third major title when he stunned top-seeded Serb Novak Djokovic. This in the final of the US Open tennis tournament in New York. An emotional Wawrinka beat the world number one in 4 sets. He now only needs a Wimbledon title to complete the coveted career Grand Slam.
Novak Djokovic.
After a disappointing third-round exit at Wimbledon, it was game on for defending champion and world number one Djokovic. The odds favoured the Serb. He had won 19 of his previous 23 encounters against Wawrinka and was aiming for his third Grand Slam title this year.
He looks very, very sharp today.
He enjoyed a solid start, winning the first set in the tiebreak.
Nice comeback, but Djokovic still wins the set.
But Stan the man has become known as a big match player, and in the next 3 sets proved why he has become a danger man on tour.
It's 1 set apiece.
Over the next few hours, he hit 46 winners in a brilliant display of shot-making. Djokovic received a medical timeout in the 4th.
Stan, sorry man, I can't stand, I'm sorry.
But this did not seem to halt the Swiss number one's momentum. He claimed a 6-7, 6-4, 7-5, 6-3 victory in just under 4 hours. His 11th successive win in a tour final and only his 5th against Djokovic.
First, I have to say something about Novak. You're a great champion, a great person. Because of you, where I am today. So I would like to congratulate for everything you've done. And also your team over there. We know each other since many years, and I have the chance to practice many times with him and to play him in a big stage, and just want to congratulate for everything you've done for the tennis so far.
In the decisive moment, he was a better player, he was tougher mentally, he knew what to do, and you know, I was just unlucky in some moments, and that's it, you know, that's sport, you know, a few points decide a winner on this level, but again, you know, it was a fantastic couple of weeks for me.
Wawrinka has now won all 3 of the 3 Grand Slam finals he has played in, and apart from the glory, also received a winner's cheque of around 50 million rand. Meanwhile, 28-year-old German Angelique Kerber has become the oldest player to rise to the world number one spot in the women's rankings. To crown the achievement, Kerber beat Czech Karolina Pliskova in 3 sets in the women's final on Saturday. The following day, Kerber was presented with the WTA trophy as women's tennis' new top player. American Serena Williams is now in 2nd spot, while Pliskova moved up 5 places to number 6. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
So, from one champion to another champion. After being outclassed by Britain Chris Froome at the Tour de France, 26-year-old Nairo Quintana struck back to become his country's first Vuelta winner since Lucho Herrera in 1987. The Colombian who rides for Movistar sealed victory at the 2016 Vuelta a España after the final stage to Madrid, which saw Magnus Cort Nielsen of Orica Bike Exchange win the sprint finish, beating Tinkoff's Daniel Bennati and Jenny Meersman of Ethics Quickstep to the line in stage 21. It was Nielsen's 2nd stage win after also winning a bunch sprint on stage 18.
The final stage to Madrid began in usual Grand Tour tradition. It took until almost halfway through the 104.8-kilometer stage on arrival in Madrid for the race to really begin, and 4 men eventually circled in a breakaway with Peter Kenner of Team Sky leading the pack. But the peloton was able to close the gap. With just over 5 kilometers to go, it was then down to the sprinters' teams to line up their first men for victory. Ethics fought hard to put 2-time stage winner Meersman in the right position.
Daniela Bennati in the fluoro colours.
But it was Bennati who launched the first attempt with Meersman hot on his wheel. But Nielsen was able to come between them to cross the finish line first.
It's Magnus the Magnificent in Madrid.
It's my first Grand Tour and it was crazy to get one and to get this one in Madrid. It's fantastic.
But the man of the moment was Quintana, who finished ahead of his big rival Chris Froome of Team Sky in the overall classification.
It's spectacular, it's special, it's a dream come true. I tried so many times to win this race, and today I've done it. Before this race, I was already the winner, but I still had to cross the finish line. Until I crossed the line, I couldn't raise my arms. It's really a dream.
He wanted the yellow jersey in Paris, but he's got the red jersey in Madrid. Paris will be the objective again in 2017.
It was the Colombian's second Grand Tour win, after also winning the 2014 Giro d'Italia. Mduduzi Ndlovu, SABC News.
Right, now Team South Africa had a good day at the 2016 Rio Paralympic Games, winning 3 medals, taking South Africa's medal tally to 5. Charles du Toit won the 100 meters T37, securing a 3rd gold for the country, while Fanny van der Merwe finished 3rd in the same race for a bronze. Reigning world champion Ilse Hayes claimed silver in the women's 100 meters T13. Let's take a look.
Du Toit was slow out of the blocks, trailing Egypt's Mohamed Mustafa at the 50-meter mark. But once the South African found his rhythm, there was no stopping him. He overtook Mustafa to finish first in 11.45 seconds to win the country a 3rd gold medal of the Games. Mustafa finished second in 11.54 seconds to claim silver. Another South African, Fanny van der Merwe, claimed the bronze. Van der Merwe hit the track, but that was after it crossed the finish line in 3rd place. Ilse Hayes, who is the reigning world champion, was favourite to win gold like he did 4 years ago at the London Paralympic Games. But it was not to be, with the South African finishing second behind Ukraine's Lelia Azametova in 11.91 seconds to win silver. Azametova won the race, setting a new world record of 11.79 seconds to claim gold. Pesing Katlu, SABC News.
Well, the Paralympic team doing exactly what you expect them to do and winning medals as they go along. Now, Springbok flanker Willem Alberts has been called up as replacement for lock Lloyd de Jager, who's been ruled out of action for up to 2 weeks with a severely bruised knee. Alberts currently plays for French club Stade Francais and will be joining the Springbok squad today in Christchurch ahead of their rugby championship match against New Zealand this coming Saturday. Meanwhile, Springbok loosehead prop Tendai Mtawarira has been slapped with a Sighting Commissioner warning for a dangerous tackle during South Africa's 23-17 loss to Australia on Saturday. Mtawarira grasped Wallaby number 8 David Pocock by the neck in attempting to clear him out during the 21st minute of the rugby championship match. The referee for the match did act upon the incident and awarded a penalty, but it was upon further review of the match footage that the Sighting Commissioner deemed that a Sighting Commissioner warning was the appropriate action to take. That's where we leave it with the bulletin for now. We'll be back at the top of the hour with more news and analysis. Stay close. I'll be chatting to Jody Hendricks about everything else that happened over the weekend. That at about 10:35. Be sure to be around for that.
This is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refill Wemulwa.
I'm Dr. Sello Mutaung, and this is Our Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alicia Jolly.
My name is Dumile Matters.
My name
is Mpo. What time is it? It's question time.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News Channel.
It's 11 o'clock on this Monday, 12th of September 2016. This is Newsroom, and a very warm welcome to the final hour. I'm Renee Vest, and I'll be with you until 12 o'clock. Of course, stay with us as we broadcast live from our Auckland Park studios here in Johannesburg, South Africa, to the rest of the African continent. Now, we're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Now, today our focus has been on the 116 people, including 85 South Africans, that were killed when the guest building of the Synagogue Church of All Nations collapsed in Lagos, Nigeria, 2 years ago. Now, at the time, Bishop T.B. Joshua, leader of the church, promised that he would be visiting families of the deceased here in South Africa. So in our question of the day, we want to know, 2 years after the church collapse in Nigeria, has T.B. Joshua accounted for the deaths of the 116 people? Do you have a view? Send us your views on SABC Newsroom or on our Facebook page. But first, let's take a look at the news headlines. So far, 9 illegal miners have surfaced in a rescue operation that started this morning at the disused mine in Langlaagte, south of Johannesburg. Today marks the 39th anniversary of the death of Steve Bantu Biko, the anti-apartheid activist and founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. And the death toll from an earthquake in Tanzania has risen to 16. Before we get to that news, let's find out from Kendall what's happening in your sports.
What happened in the sports is, you know, it's Monday morning, and every single Monday morning we've got all of Friday, all of Saturdays, all of Sunday's action to bring to you at home. This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
The final of the men's 100 meters.
At the Paralympics, Team SA is living up to expectations as Charles du Toit wins the T37 100 meters, taking South Africa's medal tally to 5 after just 4 days.
Du Toit's going to take it! 11:45! So fast! Mohammed looked to be in second place. I think Van der Merwe up in third.
And Chipa United hold Pitso Musimane's Mamelodi Sundowns to a goalless draw in their MTN 8 first leg semi-final.
That's how it happens. Stan Wawrinka wins his third Grand Slam.
Stan Wawrinka beats world #1 and defending champion Novak Djokovic in a thrilling 4 sets to become the 2016 Men's US Open champion. All this and more we've got for you in the Sports Bulletin. I'll also be chatting to Jody Hendricks about everything else that happened over the weekend. Be sure to come back for that at about 11:30, 11:35. But for now, it's back to Renee, who's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. 3 illegal miners trapped at a disused mine shaft in Langlaagte, south of Johannesburg, have resurfaced unharmed from underground. Now, the total is believed to be about 9. 4 of these miners were rescued from underground yesterday, and this now brings the number of illegal miners who since emerged from underground to about 9. Now, of the 4, 2 have been hospitalized and the other 2 have been arrested. A group of illegal miners went underground last week in search of gold, but they started experiencing breathing problems after they were overcome by carbon monoxide. Operations were suspended because of an underground fire and deadly gases which prevented mine rescue services personnel from reaching the trapped miners.
Not to say we are unable to contain the situation. We didn't see that there are people who get in there. And then that's why we put all those red tapes there, that nobody must go down there because it is dangerous. The mines rescuers was here yesterday, and they've indicated that there is a smoke underneath there. So it is not safe for anyone to go down. So anyone who's going down is going down on his own risk, because really it is not acceptable for a person to go down where it is danger to go and die as well. If they will die. So that's what we are appealing. We have appealed to the people that please, they must not come in and get in here. Let them wait for the mines rescuers until they clear it and they go and rescue those who are trapped inside there.
But their concern at this point is that as the hours go by, their relatives are at risk. We know what the situation is. You have detected smoke underground, and the 3 illegal miners who surfaced a bit earlier on this morning did indicate that they're unable to breathe.
But that it won't help. For them to go down where it is dangerous, they are going to be trapped as well in there. So that's why we're appealing to them. Let them wait. The professional go and assess the place. If it is ready for them to go down, they will go down and assist those people down there. So now if they go, they are adding the numbers who are inside here. So that's why we're appealing. Anyone must not go down. And if anyone go down while watching him, we will arrest those people. Like now, we didn't see that there are people who are going down. Now, when we come here, we thought the people are coming out. But now, if there are people went down, they must know that really we are going to arrest them. This is illegally, and we don't want people to die here. As the police, our job is to protect and serve, and we need people to be protected.
There doesn't seem to be a sufficient a police presence here at all. You are here. We saw 3 other police officers. So certainly these irate relatives don't feel the need. All you can do is appeal at this point. But their concern is what's happening underground. Do you plan to bring in more police to come and contain the situation?
I think if you can look at the back there, you will see more police officers now. You saw that there were 2 officers before, but just look now, there are more of police officers. Besides that, these red tapes, it's indicating that people must not go down. It is dangerous. That's what we are appealing. That's why they put those things, is because they want people to be safe.
Students' organisation SASCO has called on management of the University of KwaZulu-Natal to resign, saying it's failing to give proper leadership. The university's campuses have been rocked by 2 weeks of violent disruptions. Vehicles and buildings have been set alight, and students are protesting over fees, allegations of rape on campus and mismanagement. Meanwhile, the university has called an urgent executive management council meeting to address all the outstanding issues. Addressing the media, SASCO says they will seek a meeting with the police minister regarding their concerns over alleged police assault of students during the UKZN protests. SASCO's executive committee has resolved to put pressure on Cabinet and the Treasury to find money to fund free education. They want the Fees Commission to pronounce on whether or not free education is possible. Following the ANC poor showing in the municipal elections, SASCO says it's time the ANC face reality and address people's concerns.
Our police officers are still on the ground. They are monitoring the situation. They are in all those affected UKZN campuses, including Pietermaritzburg, Westville, as well as Howard College. But for now, it is quiet. No arrests made over the weekend, but there were a number of students that were arrested for the past week. We are talking about 15 students who were arrested at Howard College, as well as the 25 who were arrested at Westville College, and about 6 who were arrested in Pietermaritzburg. And all those students who were arrested, they already appeared in court, and some of them were released on bail in various courts in the province. But the case is still under investigation as well.
Now, Colonel, we're getting reports here in Johannesburg, and we're far away from the action, as it were, about intimidation now on the campuses. People are being told not to cooperate with the police. What do you say to those kinds of reports?
We appeal to the students that they must please calm down, and if they've got something that they need to, if they need some help as well, they need to consult with the police so that they can be helped. But they need to report those intimidation to the police as well if someone is intimidating them.
As the police, do you feel any pressure that an example should be made at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in order to stop these kinds of violent and criminal protests to spread to other campuses around South Africa?
Firstly, I must warn the learners or students that they are breaking their future. Once you are arrested and charged and found guilty at court, you must know that there is a criminal record on your name. And in future, if you go and apply for work, that criminal record might appear as well, and it will affect your life. But the police will keep on patrolling those areas, monitoring the situation, even those universities that are not affected as yet, but we are keeping an eye on those universities as well.
Well, for more on this story, let's go over to Elvis.
Thank you, Renee. Now, the University of KwaZulu-Natal says that implementing a 0% fee increase next year could see the quality of its services drastically reduced. The university spokesperson, Nasiba Sishoka, says with the amount of damage already caused by the protest, a 0% increase is not feasible. University students are waiting to hear with bated breath whether there will be an increase in 2017 in the tuition fees as the government and universities hold talks to determine the fee structure. Now, for more on the story, we're joined in studio here by Dr. Ahmed Bawa. He is the CEO of University South Africa. Doctor, very good morning to you and welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on television again.
Now, first and foremostly, as the body representing all universities in South Africa, how is the financial situation of the universities currently as we stand?
Well, all the universities are viable at the moment, and that's largely because even though we had a 0% increase last year in the fees, there was what you might call a bailout from the National Treasury relating to that gap, if you like, of 8% or 10% or whatever it was. So for this year, the universities are all functioning at a decent level. But if there was a 0% increase next year, without any subsidization from the state, then we expect that 17 to 18 of our universities will actually run into the red, with the likelihood that there'll have to be massive retrenchments and cutbacks on academic programs and so on.
So it will impact universities.
There's no question about it.
Tremendously.
No question about it.
Yes.
None of our universities, even those the most traditional, the oldest, the most established universities, have the kinds of funds that are required for this kind of crisis to fall back upon.
Where do we stand now in relation to the talks with government, the financial institutions and universities in terms of that fee increase for next year?
Universities SA and the chairs of the councils of the universities met with the minister on 3 occasions in the recent times. And they were all very good, interesting meetings. And of course, as you know, the last announcement made by the minister was that they would make an announcement towards the middle of September. And that was on the basis that the Departments of Higher Education and Training and the Department of Finance would come together and try to understand what kind of solution there could be, what solutions there could be to the funding crisis.
A couple of weeks ago, the minister cancelled his press briefing in relation to the fee increases. It was then said, media reports suggested that the minister suggested there must be a 6% increase. University says, no, that won't be able to happen because they need 8%.
Yes.
What is the situation there?
No, I think there's a general buy-in now from all parties, including Treasury, I think, that at the very minimum that the increase to the income of the university should be at about the 8% level. And the reason for that is that the inflation rate for universities is different from the CPI because of the nature of the operation, if you like. And it seems to me at least that there's a general buy-in to that view, that there should be an 8% increase. The question then is, where does that 8% come from? Does it come from in addition to the fees, or is there subsidy from the government, or is there some sort of big donor operation that goes on? That's something that we're hoping that the minister will bring to our attention.
And that is the discussions currently underway to see where that comes from.
Correct.
Because if we talk about an 8% increase for the students, we can imagine what's going to happen at universities.
And and I think that the one thing that we have to think about is the possibility of kind of a multi-sectoral kind of solution, if you like. So let me give you an example.
Yes.
We could, for example, say that for the poorest of the poor, there should be no increase. That for the missing middle, there should be some way of allowing them no increase, but with some sort of loan facility, say. And for the rich, that they should pay the 8% or whatever the figure is finally determined. So, you know, I think it's that kind of solution that we would have to move towards.
That sounds like a fairly rational decision, or perhaps a sort of indication where we can go with the fee increase, because a no fee increase, that is not on the table.
It's not on the table. The universities will simply collapse next year with massive retrenchments.
Yes.
All of our universities, and in particular, of course, the poorer universities, are operating on the edge. You know, none of them has fat to fall back on. You know.
What about the suggestion by the students that the lecturers and the dean should cut back on their salaries? What do you make of that?
Well, let's just take, you can't cut back on the salaries of the lecturers simply because those salaries aren't globally competitive anyway. But let's just take, let's just take the deans and the vice-chancellors. So, you know, there are 26 vice-chancellors. Let's just say that, and let's just assume that the average salary there is 2 million rand a year. It might be slightly more. And let's just say you cut that by half. So that's, that gives you...
26 million rand.
It's a pittance, yeah.
Yes, yes.
In comparison to what is required.
Doctor, a free higher education in South Africa, is that even a possibility in the future?
You know, that's a national decision. I mean, there are countries in the world where there's what we might talk about as free education. Of course, education has to be paid for somehow, whether it's through the tax system or whether it's through fees or maybe it's industry that steps in. Education has to be paid for. The question is, if we want to move in that direction, you can't do it simply by cutting the funding to the universities, because then the universities can't function. So that's a national decision, and I think that we're all very anxiously awaiting the outcome of the outcomes of the Presidential Commission. I would be quite surprised, I think, if we went simply to a free education system, simply because then we'd be in massive competition for resources with the Department of Health, with the Department of Basic Education, with social services, and so on, because the tax pool isn't growing all that much. And I think that the critical factor here for us to think about is that if you take money out of the health department and put it into, say, into higher education, what you're really doing is you're subsidizing the rich from the resources that should be going to the poor.
Doctor, I thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
Thank you so much.
That was Dr. Ahmed Bawa, the CEO of University of South Africa. Not a possibility as yet. We'll keep you posted on the issues. Remember, there's ongoing discussions, and we'll probably know what will happen in the next 2 weeks or so, a week or two perhaps, to hear from the minister whether or not there will be a fee increase for next year, 2017. And beyond that, we'll wait until next year for the Fees Commission. But it's over now. Back to Renee.
Thank you, Elvis. Now let's take a look at news from further afield. Today marks the 39th anniversary of the death of Steve Bantu Biko, the anti-apartheid activist and founder of the Black Consciousness Movement. Biko died in police custody on the 12th of September 1977 in Pretoria. Through his writings and activism, he attempted to empower black people. Biko was famous for his slogan, "Black is Beautiful." Now, every year, UNISA organizes a lecture in honor of his memory. The most recent high-profile speaker to deliver the lecture was the American activist Professor Angela Davies. This will take place over the weekend. Now back to one of our biggest stories of the day. SABC reporter Griselda is at the mine in Langlaagte, and for the latest she joins us from the search operation. Now, so far, 9 illegal miners have been rescued since the search operation was resumed this morning. So let's go over to Griselda.
Yes, Renee. Let's go to Griselda. Griselda, let's hear what is the latest there. Tell us more about the arrest and some of the charges. What is happening there? Well, it seems like we got Griselda on camera, but she's battling to hear us. Let me just go back and see if we can make that connection. Because Griselda, can you tell us what is the latest from Langlaagte?
Well, the latest at this stage is that 3 illegal miners have just been arrested, bringing that number to 7. Of course, you'd recall that yesterday 4 arrests were made, but of that 4, 2 had been taken to hospital. We now understand that they've been taken to the nearby police station and have been discharged from hospital and are also now facing charges related to illegal mining. And essentially what's happening here now is that we're waiting for the Mineral Resources Minister, Mosebenzi Zwane, who's expected here in the next few minutes at the moment as, desperate family members continue to wait for news of when their loved ones will be brought to the surface. You'd recall from yesterday, the rescue operation itself has since been halted, and at this stage there's no indication whatsoever when this rescue mission will begin again. That indication certainly we will get from the minister, but you'd recall, of course, that it was halted because of the smoke that was detected underground, and the rescue operators or the rescue mission itself had found that it would be too dangerous to go underground and bring them to the surface at this stage. But a lot towards my left there at the moment, you can see a lot of the relatives. The numbers keep growing at this stage. A lot of the relatives are still waiting for some news on when the rescue operation will begin again. And much has been said, I think, at this point with regard to how illegal mining is allowed to continue in this area. Of course, you would know that much towards the Gauteng's East Rand, where a lot of the mines there have since closed down over the past couple of years. Illegal miners have really sought to make it a lucrative business to go underground illegally and mine what they can. They say it's their only source of income, and it's the only way that they're going to be able to support their families. So the shot that you're seeing behind me at the moment is of police officers who effected that arrest and are saying that they're still waiting for more of these illegal miners to come to the surface. If at all that will happen at this stage, that certainly remains to be seen, because given the fact that arrests have now been made, many will not want to come to the surface, fearing, of course, that they will be arrested. But a little bit earlier on, when we did speak to some of the illegal miners who voluntarily came from underground, they said that there were 5 illegal miners who remain underground, and they're too afraid to come to the surface, fearing, of course, that they will be arrested by police.
Are they facing, Griselda? Just remind us.
I beg your pardon, Albus, if you could kindly repeat that.
I just want to find out the charges that the miners are facing. What are they?
Well, they will be facing charges relating to illegal mining. That's, of course, been confirmed by the South African police spokesperson, Kay Makubele, who says now that they've been taken to the police station, they will be charged. And, of course, they will appear in court quite soon.
All right, Griselda, you'll keep us updated as the drama unfolds there in Langlaagte, waiting for the minister as we speak. And as soon as we have that, we'll cross back to our reporter on the scene there, Griselda Lewis. Now, remember that we're also asking you that very important question, and that question relates to what is currently happening. It's the second anniversary. Can you imagine the second anniversary of the church collapse in Nigeria, which happened in Lagos, where 161 people died and 85 of them were South African? And as you recall, T.B. Joshua, the leader of that church, was supposed to come to South Africa to engage with the families and, of course, to give them some support, but he never turned up. So the question that we posed to you this morning, do you think that he really accounted for the people that died in Nigeria? Let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, and you can also like us on the Facebook page, and we'll read your comments a little bit later. Now, this week, a very busy news week. The Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, has again called for the war within government to come to an end. He made a similar call, as you can recall, at the funeral service recently of the ANC stalwart Mokenkesi Stofile, where he expressed support for the Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan. The National Assembly has approved State Security Agency analyst Busisiwe Mqwebane to become the new public protector. And the South African Democratic Students Movement, SADESMO, has criticized the recent violent protests at several university buildings and vehicles that have been burnt at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. when talks between the SRC and the university management deadlock, as you know, that we had this entire discussion here this morning. And the managing director of Pick It Up in Johannesburg, Amanda Nair, was relieved of her duties. This after the company's workers downed tools this year, demanding that Nair should resign following allegations of maladministration. And lastly, delivering the 17th annual Steve Biko Memorial Lecture at UNISA, the American political activist, academic scholar and author, Professor Angela Davis, says that Steve Biko's legacy will always remain important to the world. Now, to discuss this and other matters, our social commentator, Dr. Leonard Martin, joins us now to look at the week that passed and some of the major stories that unfolded during the course of the week and how it impacts on us as a society. Doctor, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Elvis, and good morning to the viewers.
Now, first and foremostly, it was a tough week. It was a very busy week. Your thoughts on the call by the Deputy President for the war to end in the ANC?
Well, first of all, I think it's an exceptional and quite unusual call as statecraft goes, for the simple reason that you do need stability within the institutions of government to carry out policy. That is what the South African citizenry expects. If we use the term developmental state quite seriously, it does imply that there's a fine line between chaos within government and development. The two do not go together. And I think his call is correct, because I think we are beyond that immediate point, of just accepting the situation as normal when it increasingly indicates all the markers of what is abnormal as far as statecraft is concerned. We cannot have a stable South Africa. We cannot have a South Africa that clearly is pursuing its own national interest in a government that is intra-competitive and destructive.
Does it indicate that government is concerned, and even the ANC internally, in terms of what's happening, especially with the Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, which disrupt the economy to a certain degree?
Absolutely. I think the whole of Southern Africa is concerned because the expectations on running the South African state affects most of the states around us. So, yes, indeed, it's a major concern.
What is your assessment of the likely successor of Thuli Madonsela, the next public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane?
Well, we are exceptionally lucky that we've had Thuli Madonsela, because whatever standards we are looking at, effectively, should be called Thuli standards. The actual or potential new public protector will be assessed, weighed against the standards of Thuli Madonsela. And I dare say, the pressures and the challenges in South Africa are not decreasing. So the pressures on the new public protector to actually maintain or go beyond Thuli standards are very high indeed.
Now, I can tell you that she will face a baptism of fire, because there's a number of reports that she needs to release, which comes out from Thuli's period.
Absolutely.
Now, do you believe that the South African Democratic Students Movement, SADESMO, their statement is genuine when they criticize the recent violence at University of KwaZulu-Natal?
I think one has to welcome the condemnation of violence as a necessity. But at the same time, one has to also look at the challenges facing the South African universities as a system producing knowledge. Are they able to do it under the current state of crisis? And my answer is that, we are wallowing in talk of crisis. We are not seeing any solutions. And I think in order to provide the students with a bridge to stability and what one can call comfort in studying, a lot more needs to come from the leadership.
The SRC this morning denied any involvement or any wrongdoing, for that matter, in the violence at the university, stating that they're waiting for the police to report. But we have 40 students already been arrested.
Well, that basically means there's something sinister that is taking place as far as the protests are concerned. Is it perhaps indications that someone is attempting, or some group is attempting to discredit the students? But having said that, all these issues come back to the leadership of education in South Africa. The students may come and go, but the crisis situation has to be resolved.
Yeah. Managing Director of Pick It Up, Amanda Nair, finally been dismissed, it seems. She was relieved of her duties. Was this a political compromise, you think, Doctor?
I think it has much to do with the change of political leadership in Johannesburg. I think Gauteng and Joburg as a whole have grown particularly wary of the dirt, the grime that, were associated with her leadership. So, I mean, the answer probably lies in having a new leader that would actually meet the expectations of the city, but also the political elite that has now taken over.
And then, of course, we had former Black Panther here in our midst.
Absolutely.
What do you make of her visit and, of course, the Steve Biko
Well,
lecture?
I think South Africans can draw a great deal of nourishment, so to speak, in terms of our own struggle. I mean, we're celebrating or commemorating the death of Steve Biko. That's why she was there. I think some of her points were telling in that our understanding of our own struggle is not complete. It is a work in progress. We have much to learn from other struggles, but at the same time, our youth are facing major challenges of drawing lessons to enrich the South Africa that we expect in the future.
Doctor, as usual, thank you so much for your time and joining us
Thank
in
you
studio.
very much.
That was social commentator Dr. Leonard Martin on our weekly slot, looking at the major stories that unfolded during the week that passed and how that impacts on you and me as our society. We'll take a break right now, and Kendall Makamate will be back with your sports news.
Keeping you up to date with business developments.
There's no shortage of money in the system. There's a shortage of implementation capacity to actually get things done.
Always on point with news of the day.
May has promised radical social and economic reforms, fueling speculation over the future of current senior figures.
On the ball every time with all sports codes.
The Joburg side already have a quarter-final at home, and a victory against the Argentines will ensure home semi-final.
Accurate weather updates after every bulletin. Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
Welcome back. I'm Kendall Makamate with your sports. Our top story, of course, is about the US Open, where third seed Stanislav Wawrinka of Switzerland clinched his third major title when he stunned top-seeded Serb Novak Djokovic in the final of the US Open tennis tournament at Flushing Meadows, New York. An emotional Wawrinka beat the world number one in 4 sets. He now only needs a Wimbledon title to complete the coveted career Grand Slam.
Novak Djokovic.
After a disappointing third-round exit at Wimbledon, it was game on for defending champion and world number one Djokovic. The odds favoured the Serb. He had won 19 of his previous 23 encounters against Wawrinka and was aiming for his third Grand Slam title this year.
He looks very, very sharp today.
He enjoyed a solid start, winning the first set in the tiebreak.
Nice comeback, but Djokovic still wins the set.
But Stan the man has become known as a big match player, and in the next 3 sets proved why he has become a danger man on tour.
It's 1 set apiece.
Over the next few hours, he hit 46 winners in a brilliant display of shot making. Djokovic received a medical timeout in the fourth.
Stan, sorry man, I couldn't stand, I'm sorry.
But this did not seem to halt the Swiss number one's momentum. He claimed a 6-7, 6-4, 7-5, 6-3 victory in just under 4 hours, his 11th successive win in a tour final, and only his 5th against Djokovic.
First, I have to say something about Novak. You're a great champion, a great person. Because of you, where I am today. So I would like to congratulate for everything you've done, and also your team over there. We know each other since many years, and I have the chance to practice many times with him and to play him in a big stage, and just want to congratulate for everything you've done for the tennis so far.
In the decisive moment, he was a better player. He was tougher mentally. He knew what to do, and you know, I was just unlucky in some moments, and that's it. You know, that's sport. You know, a few points decide a winner on this level. But again, you know, it was a fantastic couple of weeks for me.
Wawrinka has now won all 3 of the 3 Grand Slam finals he has played in, and apart from the glory, also received a winner's cheque of around 50 million rand. Meanwhile, 28-year-old German Angelique Kerber has become the oldest player to rise to the world #1 spot in the women's rankings. To crown the achievement, Kerber beat Czech Karolina Pliskova in 3 sets in the women's final on Saturday. The following day, Kerber was presented with the WTA trophy as women's tennis' new top player. American Serena Williams is now in 2nd spot, while Pliskova moved up 5 places to number 6. Liesel Zankel, SABC News.
Now, other news making headlines from the weekend was Chippa United holding Mamelodi Sundowns to a goalless draw in a bruising MTN8 first leg encounter at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in the Eastern Cape. It was a mentally and tactically sapping match, with both teams having to regroup in preparation for the second leg match in 2 weeks' time.
The match opened with a moment of silence for the late Nkosi, Let Them Dance Mulala, who mesmerized his opponents while at Pretoria Kelly's. It's Chippa United 3rd season in top-flight football, and they have settled well, managing to keep Sundowns at bay for the first 20 minutes. The first half was largely characterized by dangerous tackles from both sides. The trick in this 2-legged semi-final is to avoid conceding a goal. Teams are mindful of the away goal rule when the turf gets going. The Chile boys opted for attack regardless. Sundowns were not to be outdone and continued to launch countless attacks, but the Chile boys did not back down.
You know, you would wish that we could have scored, you know. Much as both sides had chances to score, but you know, under the circumstances, I think maybe we could have scored, but it didn't happen. So just go back and see what we can do, you know, to convert chances or to create chances, more chances, you know. Because I think with our stats, normally in other games, the chances we created today were far fewer than what we normally do.
Exactly, it came out exactly as expected.
This is what you work for. Is the scoreline what you wanted?
Well, as long as we didn't lose, you know, we're going home now. It's a different game. I prefer 1-1 than 0-0 because at least we scored away. Even if we might not do something at home, it would have been good. But let's be honest, brilliant football. Eh?
In Johannesburg, Bidvest has 1 foot in the final of the MTN8 after beating Absa Premiership rookies Cape Town City 3-0 in the first leg match played at the Bidvest Stadium last night. The Cape Town boys were erratic in all departments and were hardly a threat to the hosts. Vets were on top of their game and punished them for each mistake. Vets will go into the second leg of the Wafa Wafa tournament without goalkeeper Munib Josephs, who was red-carded in the second half. Tambashiba, SABC News.
A tempestuous match if there ever was one. Now, American Dustin Johnson fired a final round 5 under par 67 to win the BMW Golf Championship in Indiana. He now tops the FedEx Cup standings. The world #2 finished a comfortable 3 strokes ahead of England's Paul Casey, setting a new tournament record.
Johnson, who won the US Open in June, continued arguably the best year of his career with a convincing 3-stroke win at the Crooked Stick golf course. 6 birdies and an eagle saw him card a 67 to finish with a total of 265, 23 under par. It was a new 72-hole record as the American went one better than the 22 under set by his compatriot Tiger Woods in 2007.
The big difference is my wedge game. My wedge game's improved a lot, so I know if I'm driving it well and I'm hitting it in the fairway and get a wedge in my hand, I'm going to have good looks at birdies.
The victory also sees the US Open champion grab top spot on the FedEx Cup points list as the top 30 players advance to the season-ending Tour Championship in Atlanta in 2 weeks' time.
I'm in a great position, I can control my own destiny with the position I'm in. I still got to go there and win the Tour Championship if I want to be the FedEx Cup champion.
Little falling putt from 5 feet, and he makes it.
South Africa's Charles Schwartzel will be joining Johnson in the season finale. Schwartzel returned the round of the day, a flawless 64, to finish tied for 4th place at 12 under overall, just making the cut for the 30-man field. Samantha Mari, SABC News.
Now, the most watched match globally over the weekend was undoubtedly the Manchester derby. Ever since old rivals Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola were confirmed as coaches for United and City respectively, the 10th of September has loomed large on the footballing fans' calendar. And at home, the Springboks are staring into the abyss of ignominy. After a string of poor results in recent years, Alistair Coetzee was ushered in as the panacea, the bandage to heal the wounds of bad performances and lead them battle Springboks into a bright, new and transformed future. Well, to talk about this all, with me is Jody Hendricks, the usual suspect. Jody, thanks very much for coming through.
Good being here, Kendall.
Jody, before we get into any of those two, the EPL as well as the Springboks, Stan Wawrinka has done extremely well to be that guy with the BMT who, when he gets into a final, he's almost sure to win. In fact, it's the 3rd time that he's gone into a Grand Slam final and won it.
To be honest with you, Kendall, not one of my favorite tennis players. I prefer the other sweet Federer, but I must say, hats off to Wawrinka. He's been really playing well, and it looks like he's probably the only player in the world that when he gets to a final against Djokovic, who's able to beat him. Others have tried it, Murray have tried it, but Stan Wawrinka now the 3rd time that he's beaten Djokovic in a final. Hopefully he'll move up to 2nd place in the world rankings. Now he was number 3 before this, but well done to him and winning the last Grand Slam of the year.
Now, I think fantastic stuff. In fact, this particular tennis match, a lot of people are looking forward to it because they know that when he's up to it, Stan plays brilliant tennis. Djokovic almost always plays brilliant tennis. He had a very strange run to the final. But with that said, people were looking forward to the thrill, and really was a thrilling match.
Yeah, I think Djokovic had an easy run. I don't think any of his matches went past, I think one match went past 4 rounds where Wawrinka in the quarter and in the semi had a 4 and a 5th rounder. So I think, he was, he was in form going into the final, but also he was a bit more hungry. Djokovic thought maybe took it a bit too easy, had a couple of cramps, a couple of injuries.
I'm going to cut your word there. Do you think that it made any difference that Djokovic played some 9 hours only getting to that final, whereas Wawrinka had to go toil through 18 hours worth of tennis?
I listened. I had an interview with Serena Williams on my show the other day after her semi-final loss, and I think that's the true trait of a champion. No excuses. She said she wasn't at her best, and she took responsibility for it. I don't think Djokovic is the kind of guy that's going to blame a cramp on him not winning a Grand Slam title.
Now, talking about Serena, is the end of an era?
I don't think so. I think one of her goals, she is one of the big sports stars in the world that's all about records. She goes out publicly and says, I want to be the best, I want to hold all the records. And she's not going to rest, Kendall, until she has that record that she's now equal with Steffi Graf on as her own. And, 2017, there's another 4 Grand Slams. She only needs 1.
And Angie Kerber has done some amazing stuff. It's only been a year. She's literally come out of nowhere for a lot of people that hadn't been following her career closely, and she's done extremely well. She's got her 2nd Grand Slam. Fantastic stuff.
And the new world number 1, unthroned the champion Serena, who's been there for the past couple of years. Also, she's not that young anymore. She's the oldest player to become the world number 1. So I think, she's been around the block. She's taken losses, a lot of experience now, and I think she is just peaking at the right time and getting to finals, winning, lost, I think it was Wimbledon, but also now winning the US Open.
No, very good for her. Now, and other things that were going on over the weekend, the most watched match of the entire world over the weekend was definitely the September the 10th, the derby between Manchester United and City. What did you make of that rivalry and what happened there?
One of the biggest soccer matches in the world, Kendall, and, just the history. It's not only the history between these two clubs, obviously, Manchester City, that always in the past was like the stepbrother with Man United getting all the glory. Obviously, things have changed now. The citizens are the loud neighbours. But I think it was a good game. I was impressed with the first half. I had to watch the game, obviously.
The noisy neighbours.
Yeah. The first half, I think City dominated from the beginning. They scored. De Bruyne scored the first goal. From then they were in the front foot. They scored a second goal. Zlatan pulled one back for United. And then I think I was a bit disappointed in the second half again. I thought both teams had chances to score goals. City could have sealed it. United could have equalised and then play. But unfortunately, they couldn't finish. And that is disappointing if you consider the kind of players that both teams had on the pitch.
Yeah.
Juan Matas, Rashford, Zlatan, everybody. And unfortunately, United couldn't pull it through, but congrats to City winning the first Manchester derby of the year.
We have a tweet from one of our viewers who actually had something to say about this particular match, and I think it's key that we're bringing in. And really, it's about Daniel Church saying, Kelechi and Nacho's middle name is Promise. Brilliant. He's certainly living up to his name and his potential. He was the teenager in the mix between him and Rashford, who was actually being seen as the back bencher, but he's the one who stood up and scored the goal for his team.
The second goal, and then obviously after that, Zlatan pulled one back, but I thought it was a fantastic goal. I'm impressed, by the way, also that, obviously we have to look at the dynamics of the two coaches. I think Jose is still struggling to find his form with United a bit, where Pep has got City to play in a certain way that, they can beat anybody. They're top of the log after 4 games. So, I think both players that you mentioned now, both goal scorers did well.
Okay, now let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to the big elephant in the room right now. Alistair Coetzee, the Springboks, is struggling. He's called up Alistair Coetzee to replace Loet de Jager. He's got Mona Steyn on the bench as a second fly half, and people are saying he's harking back to the glory days of yesteryear. He's harking back to the Jake White type of rugby, the old school kind of rugby, and he's standing an uncertain coach at the crossroads.
Yeah, he called up Willem Alberts. I don't know, I think that was a step backwards. It sends the wrong message to not only the fans, but also to the players grinding it out in South Africa, hoping to make the Springbok team, and then you call up an experience. Well, experience always a good thing, but an old guy who's playing in Europe at the moment. I must say, Kendall, on a positive, that first 25 minutes was probably the best 25 minutes of South African rugby or Springbok rugby that I've seen this year.
Then they ran out of steam.
Then they ran out of steam, and I said while doing commentary, a rugby game, we should not get too ahead of ourselves. A rugby game is 80 minutes. Also, kudos to Australia for coming back. They came back late into the first half and dominated the second half. They didn't give South Africa any chance to play. Again, the Springboks, the All Blacks are waiting for them next week. They need to improve at least by 200% if they want to be competitive, not even win the game. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think by calling up a big physical player like Willem Alberts, he's not going to make a difference against the All Blacks. We are not going to outmuscle the All Blacks.
So what's going on? What's going on in Alistair Coetzee's mind? Is he undecided? Is he uncertain of his future? Is he feeling pressure?
No.
Is this the reason he's making those decisions, or does he not have the right tactics in his head?
Pressure. It's all about pressure. And Alistair won't be the first coach. Jake White couldn't deal with the pressure. Heineke couldn't deal with the pressure.
He just started now?
Yeah, and that's why I said give him a year to settle. Kendall, the biggest problem is I don't doubt that we have the players to be competitive against the All Blacks, to be a world beater. It's do we have the skill? We do not have skillful. Our players are not skillful enough to compete against the New Zealanders, and that's the problem. And also, we don't have a game plan where we can play to our strengths. Do we want to play the running game? Do we want to play the big forward bashing it up game? I'm still undecided. And also, stupid mistakes like handling errors. You can't have 24 knock-ons in a game against Australia and expect to win the game. So it's those little things that he needs to look at. But most importantly, get a game plan that, like that we implemented in the first 25 minutes, that will put us on the front foot and then make us competitive for the rest of the game.
Jude, I'll tell you this. I think a lot of people would actually disagree with you when you talk about the skill sets and the skills ability. I think some people looking at what the Sevens team is doing, the kind of ability that South African rugby players have got. Yes, it's in the Sevens game, but their handling and their reading and understanding of the game could be something that could be translated into this. But I think it's something that we could debate on, because I know you feel strongly about your position.
Yeah, look, the Lions got it right to a certain extent, but then he took those Lions players, selected them for the Springboks, and they're not showing the same flair that they did for the Lions. So somewhere, it's either the game plan that's not allowing them...
Something lost in translation.
To bring out these skills, or it's basically that, the game plan is we're going to bash it up. Whatever skills you have, put it on the back burner. We are not going to play that kind of rugby. Yeah, Elton Yankees showed moments of brilliance in the first half and then got subbed. So that makes me think as well.
All right, now, Jody, thanks very much. There's so much more we could talk about. There's the MTN8, fantastic matches. Even Peter Musimana was saying it was a brilliant match that they had against the other Shushan protagonist in Del Malisela from Chipa United, as well as a thrashing that City, Cape Town City got.
Boxing match.
And there was a proper boxing match, that one, as well as, of course, our Paralympic guys were doing extremely well, pulling in the medals.
3 medals in 10 minutes, and all 3 athletes that won those medals, the gold, silver, and bronze, they all have the same coach out in Stellenbosch. That's an interesting fact that I was kept busy with yesterday during my Olympic shift.
No, fantastic. So between Stellenbosch and the University of Pretoria, it seems like those are the centres of excellence that South Africans can rely on in all things athletics. Now, with that, I think we're watching that. Yes, our gold and our bronze in the T37 100 meters there. We're going to leave it right there after having that chat with Jody. Thanks very much for having joined us. You've been watching Newsroom. My name is Kendall Makhamati. We'll be back with the entire team tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. sharp. Bye-bye.
Something called, what, threads or something? What is that?
Yes, so people, you know, with a bit of sagging, so you're in your mid-40s, not quite ready for surgery, not entirely happy with the way your jawline looks, it has a bit of a jolly look, so that's where threads come in. So it's a non-surgical procedure.
What causes acne?
Common causes of acne are genetics, can be hormonal as well, so that's why you see it normally in sort of your prepubescent or your pubescent teenagers. There can be social causes as well.
Varicose veins versus spider veins.
Those large, big, tortuous blood vessels that run down your legs, those are varicose veins. They're typically more than 3 to 5 millimeters in size. And then those very thin, fine, thready veins, and they can be a variety of colors, purple, blue, red. So those are the spider veins.
Join Health Talk every Saturday for all your health news.
From the moment you start your day.
My biggest question is how I got myself here on time. Yes, it's so early for a comedian, I gotta be honest.
We are there for you. We bring your morning into perspective.
As news breaks throughout the morning,
is an investment into the future of the airports company, but also the future of our children, the future of our country, the future of the transport sector.
We'll make sure that you get the full story.
Give us quality music. Load shedding. Listen, this winter.
It's a thing of the past. And you can count on the weather team with expertise.
Join us live at 6 a.m. daily.